Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. Yes, we're sitting down with Aries from Ready to Love, the latest season. Listen, there was a lot that was going on in Dallas, and so we had to bring Aries here to come and give us some of the insights on her journey and on the show. Aries, how you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, I'm alive, I'm well, I'm feeling good, the energy's vibrant, you look fabulous, you look beautiful. Huh?
Thank you. Had to let the people know I actually have hair under those braids I always wear,
Oh. Hey, listen, I'm never gonna complain. The braids are cute, this hair is cute, so long as you're looking good, I ain't never gonna complain. All right. Goody good. All right. So listen, before we get anywhere into any particular conversation, we first got to do some human verification. I got to make sure you're actually a human being. The AI is strong these days. You know what I mean? So it's very strong. It's dangerous out here. You know what I mean? Before you know it. So I want to ask you some human verification questions just to make sure you're human, and then we can dive into some key conversation. Is that okay with you?
Sounds great.
Fantastic. First question I got to ask you is your favorite color, Aries?
My favorite color is purple, but my favorite color to wear is red.
Oh, okay. All right, I like it. Here's a small maths question. Square root of 64.
I'm not a math person. No, I don't know. Don't ask me no math questions.
You done killed my flirt game because I was gonna say you ate. You done killed it because you meant to say 8, and I was gonna say, well, you ate, and then you killed my whole thing there.
Don't ask me no math.
You just killed it for me there, Aries. You know what I mean? I had a whole game ready for you.
Give me English questions.
I am. Favorite meal?
Favorite what?
Favorite meal. Sorry, my English.
Favorite meal. I was like, what?
What favorite milk? Is there a favorite milk?
Meal is anything that's like seafood, so like lobster, shrimp, salmon. I don't know, different kind of seafood. I'm a seafood person.
Ooh, okay. Salmon's always good. I'm never a big fan of salmon. I am like that. And if you were on a plane and you had to do an emergency landing, and you could land anywhere you could in the world, where would you want to land, Aries?
Oh, anywhere in the world? It would be one of two places. My favorite places to go. One would be Thailand, Phuket, Thailand. That's one of my favorite places. And then I would say Jamaica is like my go-to. Just, you're going to see a bunch of other Black people. It's going to be good vibes, good weather, a beach. Like, that's always a good spot. So.
Lovely. And what would you say if somebody said they would take you to the Cheesecake Factory? What would be your response?
I like the Cheesecake Factory. I will go there.
Good answer. Cereal or the milking first?
Always the cereal first.
Any particular cereal that, tickles your fancy?
I don't really eat cereal, but if I would, it would be Frosted Flakes.
Okay. I like it. Sweet tooth. All right. Listen, I think you've passed, Aries. You're flying colors. We believe you're a human. Loving the blue on you as well. And so we're going to dive right into some key conversations. We want to get to know you before the show Ready to Love. So, Aries, my opening question to you is, who is Aries and what is your story?
Oh my God. Okay. Who is Aries and what is my story? I have a story. So I don't know. I feel
baby, we like stories.
Oh, so you have to
You
get
got
more.
time today.
I was gonna say you got to get more specific because I'm a very complex person. I am
Mm,
multi-layered, multifaceted.
okay.
I have a lot of depth and experience, and so I feel like I've lived a lot of lives, and so it's kind of hard for me to sum it all into like, oh, this is just who I am. But I would say, originally I'm from California, from the Bay Area. Um, I moved to Texas uh, when I was 27, and I've been here ever since. So I've been here for this is my 16th year, I think, this year.
Wow.
But yeah, so like I got a lot. It's a lot. Like you'd have to get a lot more specific for me to give you the
Mm.
full tea. But I'm a mom. I have my two boys. They are you can't see from this camera, but they are 12 and 14. They're awesome, and
Oh,
so there's a lot to me.
I love that. Now you said, you mentioned the word complex twice, and you're layered. You mentioned these.
I am.
Why are you saying that you're complex and you're layered? What does that? What does
I've
that?
been I've been through a lot of things. Where I'm from in the Bay Area is called Richmond, California. It is a
Okay.
very small population, but it is, it's known for having a lot of crime and poverty, and it's a rough area to have grown up in, specifically in the time frame that I was living there. So it's funny because when I watch the show, people are like, "Yeah, she come from money." They just make these assumptions, and that's not the case at all. uh, not at all. So, my parents struggled a lot. And then I was born in 79, so like the 80s with crack epidemic and drugs and things
Jeez.
like that. So, like, both of my parents were on drugs when I was a child. I went through a lot of just learning how to fend for myself and be very independent
Mm,
at a young age. As they were trying to figure their own lives out. My dad, he did play professional baseball, but that was in the 70s. And so, like, when he
mm,
came out of playing baseball, he had to figure his life out, like, what am I
yeah.
going to do? And just knowing that he was like this person, even to the day he died, like very big in the community. Like everyone knew him, like as the star coming out of the small town, going into the major leagues and being drafted. And like he's just known as this like local celebrity. And then coming back from playing sports, like, oh, I got to go back into the real world and like find a job and like do all these things. So
Mm,
he went through a lot of mental, trying to figure out how he's going to get back, his life. And then my mom was dealing with her own struggles, and once her and my dad broke up, I was a young girl. I was like 4 or 5
mm.
when they broke
Damn. Okay.
up. And so my mom remarried and was in a DV marriage. So that
Sorry to
was
hear
like
that.
3 or 4 years of our life. That was very rough. It was traumatizing, to be honest with you. Like it ended in a stalker type situation where I literally seen someone stabbed in front of me where I had to like escape, and it was a whole big thing. So that set the tone for me being like, I don't want to live this life. I mean, at 7 years old, I could tell you right now, like at 7, where I was like, I'm not living like this. Like, this is not the life I want. And I got to figure out how to get out, how to get out of this. Like, I just knew I didn't fit this. Like, this was not going to be my story. And I used to watch a lot of the Cosby Show and TV to like escape,
Mm,
the reality of things. And me and Rudy Huxtable were the same age, in real life. So I was like, "Ooh, I want to be like Claire. I wish Claire Huxtable was my mom. Like, I want to be like Claire, like so." I use that as my like almost like a visual for me to look up to for a while. Because I just like, ooh, I want to be like her. I want to be a boss. I want to have a briefcase and have that way to love your family, but also like don't play no games, like her whole demeanor. So that was what I looked at. And then when I got about 12 years old, I went with my dad and my grandmother to a family reunion of a cousin that I didn't know. It was my dad's first cousin, and she lived in big old house, like in Sacramento, that was like 3-car garage, tennis court. I mean, I've never seen nothing like this. Like the house I grew up in was a 1-bedroom. It was 5 of us living up in there. My
Amazing.
whole family was on the whole street. So we leave there, go to my grandma's house down the street. Like everybody lived together, you know? So, which we had a lot of love, even though we went through all that, we were a very close family. But when I saw this home, I could tell you right now what the house looks like. I could redesign it in my mind. Like right now, I could tell you because it was so inspiring to me to know that somebody in my family lived like that. I was like, "You're my family?" Like, so how do I get this? I remember asking her, I was like, "How do I get this?" You know, and she was like, "Don't." She was like, "Go to college. Don't have no babies till you turn 40." You know, she was adding extras on it, but her point was like, stay focused and go to school. And I held on to that word for ever. I was like, that's I'm going to school. I'm gonna do like so. That was literally my life, and you know, my parents. My mom, she'll tell you right now, she never even helped me with no homework. Okay, like it was never like I was on my own for a very long time. And even when I got about 50, so my mom remarried again. So my mom been married a few times. Okay,
That's it. That's it.
but for my mom, it was so we're gonna start using the buzzword tonight, stability, right? Well, my mom, she got saved, right? She got saved when I was about 8. She went to my family comes from a you know Pentecostal background. So my
Same.
grandmother, her sisters, and stuff. So eventually, my mom ended up going to get saved, and when she got saved, she got saved. Like she went from one thing to the next extreme, like overnight. And when she got married, she married a minister. And so we could wear pants. We went from being the house on the corner that the D boys, the everybody knew us, like everybody was at our house. All the you know the people in the hood that was like the popular people. Like our house was like the house. You know, it was a lot of just people coming and going all the time. And so when she got saved, we moved to a different hood that was a little bit better. But she married a minister, so it was like we had this extreme change from what we were doing to that. So they stayed married for about 15 years or so. And so that was a big part of it helped me a lot, you know, get some foundation because he was a hardworking man, construction worker. She was a stay-at-home wife. And, you know, there was a point in time when they were going through some things and we ended up moving out, me and my mom, because my sister was already, I have a sister too. She's 5.5 years older than me. But there was a point where she moved. My mom was like, I'm leaving him or whatever. And then she moved into an apartment like 2 cities away. Like, so I had to catch multiple buses to get to school every day. But then a week after we moved into the apartment, she decided she's going back to her husband. So then she let me stay in the apartment though. I stayed in the apartment. I was like 15. I stayed in this apartment by myself for 6 months. 6 months I lived in this apartment by myself. My friends didn't even know. My best friend just reminded me today, like we were just talking. She was like, I was just telling somebody how inspiring your story is because I didn't tell anyone that I was doing that. Like she was like, you could have had dudes in there. You could have been doing all having parties and doing whatever. And I just was a responsible child. Like I was so independent at a young age that I just knew, like, number one, I'm not going to tell people this because that's not something to talk about, right? Like you don't want people to know that that's what your life is like. But but I was just responsible. I don't know. I just knew because I still was focused. So I was catching 3 buses. I would get on the bus at 5:30 in the morning and catch 3 buses to get to my school because I was already out of district because I was going to a school, like a better school that was not really in where I lived. And so I just did it and I was getting good grades still. I was just focused because I was like, I got to get up out of here. Like, we got to go. So we're not going to even play with this, you know? So I was just focused, you know, and my dad during that time, he ended up getting saved too, probably like 2 years after my mom. And she actually was helping him kind of through that process, because he went through like a rehab and did all this stuff and started getting his life back, and went back into coaching at the community college. He was always kind of coaching part-time, but then he started getting more full-time, and he actually went back to college when I was in high school to get his bachelor's degree, and then he went on to get a master's and a doctorate. Like he just kept going, because he was really, though his life wasn't going, like he knew that he wanted me to be better. And so he would always just be like, you got to go to college, you got to get, you got to focus on your grades and, all this stuff. And he didn't want to just be telling me, and he wasn't doing it himself. So he was like, I got to go, so that when you have, like, if I keep going, then you got to at least do what I do, So he was like, I'm gonna get my master's, so you at least got to get your master's, Went and did the PhD thing. I was like, you on your own. I'm not.
One step too far.
It was inspiring to me. Like, it was somewhere I knew that that was not going to be my life. I knew that I just didn't feel like I fit into the environment. Like, I just really, my sister used to be like, you were adopted. She would say stuff like that to me. How siblings, we do each other. And I'd be like, maybe I would. I'm not feeling this. Like, this don't feel like what I want my life
to be like.
So, because like my sister, she's still kind of in that world. She's doing a lot better, but she's gone through a lot of stuff, and she kind of stayed, in that
amongst that yeah.
So when people find out that we're siblings, they'd be like, "That's your sister." To her, like, they'd be like,
different path, yeah.
But I love my sister. But yeah, so that's why I said, like, it's been a lot of stuff. It's been a lot. So just like my resilience, I feel like was built as a child, to where I just was like, set goals, and I went and did them on my own. Like, my parents didn't help me; they didn't sign me up for programs. I signed myself up for programs. I was catching the train to Cal Berkeley to go to programs for STEM and learn about science and computers and different stuff like that. Back in those days. And so, yeah, I just knew that I wanted to have a better life. So
no, I see why you say complex and layered.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I do know where to start, but I don't know where to start. But to take me back, like you said, you had to be independent. You pretty much had to sign yourself up for things. You've pretty much done things on your own. Parents split early as well. Mum has remarried a few times as well. You've moved to different places. You've lived on your own as well early in your childhood as well. There's a lot of things that have been happening, moving, shaking in your particular world. But the one thing that seems to have stayed constant is, I'm going to get out of this. I'm finding my way to the light, and I'm finding my revelation. I'm going to find my place I want to be in. Yeah. Take me back then. Okay, so when like you said, you're like you even mentioned that, even just like not helping with the homework, and having to do that on your own. Take me back to that mindset in terms of how being left to your own kind of devices and trying to figure out life from such a young age.
I feel like that was normal though in my environment. Like, I caught the bus to school, the public bus in second grade. Like, we were catching the bus by ourselves. You had your friends, and they'll come to your knock on the door, get you in the morning. We all go get on the bus. It wasn't no yellow bus, the school bus. It was like public transpo, with the homeless people and everybody. Like, you learn how to fend for yourself in the community, first, right? Going to the liquor store by yourself, the drug dealers, they were my mom and them friends from high school and stuff. So they would be at the house. Aries, go to the store for me. I was going to buy cigarettes. I was, doing stuff like that. And then they'll let me keep the change. I learned how to stash money places, and even my dad, when he was on drugs and stuff, he was working a job at a warehouse at like a grocery store. And when he would get paid, he would give me the money, like give me like $300 or something. Be like, hold this and don't give it to your mom. And he didn't want to hold it either, because he knew if he had it or if she had it, they were going to spend it. And he'd be like, hold this, and when I come back, I'm going to take you to go get some clothes or go do some, stuff for you. So I had found a little spot in the house to stash money under like a little floorboard thing, because the first time I accidentally told my mom. And
Look.
she's like, "Boo, bye, that's mine now." And I was just like, "Dang it!" So I learned, and he trusted me again with it. So I was like, "Okay, this time, I'm not telling her because I see what happens." So I just had to, I just learned to have my own stuff, and I feel like it wasn't even an expectation for her to help me. I don't think it was until I was like older that, because she always used to be like, "I'm not good with math and stuff." Like she would say stuff to make me feel like, well, she don't know anyways. She don't know how to do this. So that was kind of like, you just start doing that. And then I come from a really big family. So it's like, we just made it, you just make stuff
Made it
happen.
work.
Yeah, you learn how to be, you just learn, you got to learn, or you're going to be less. Like, okay. And also, again, I knew I wanted to get out. So I need to focus. Like, I need to do my homework. It wasn't like she was like, "Did you have homework today? Did you do this today?" Nobody was checking my stuff. I just knew that in my mind, I want to get out. I got to go to school. I need to do this, so I just stayed focused on it.
How, looking back now, how do you view the relationship between yourself and your parents? Like, looking back at young Aries from your older lens and perspective, how do you see that particular relationship?
Me and my mom struggled for a long time. It wasn't until, like, my oldest son is 14. When I had my first child, so when I had him, that is when our relationship started rebuilding. Because we had been on a year break before that, where I had kind of set some boundaries with her and was like, "If you can't respect these boundaries, then, see you later."
You got to go.
Yeah. And basically, we didn't talk for a year. And then when I got married to their dad, which she knew him, but literally we were talking on email. I just was like, "I'm just letting you know that we got married," or whatever. And then I got pregnant. We got married in 2008. And then I got pregnant probably like 3 months after we got married. Like, it was super quick. So I notified her via email that I'm pregnant, and I was just like, "If you want to be in this child's life, those boundaries still stand. So you just let me know if you want to respect them or not. Then if you want to be in these kids' life, then you got to respect it." So she decided she did. And from that point, we just been on this journey of growth in our relationship. Like, now we're the best we've ever been in my life, over these years. She's really evolved, and like, you feel like you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but
Absolutely.
I feel like she definitely like impressed me with the fact she's one that I really was like, she ain't never gonna change. Like, this lady is
stuck in the ways.
she is not the one. Y'all saw a little taste, and she was being nice. So y'all, she's something else. So she's really been a great grandmother to my kids. 10 times better than she was as a mother to me.
Yeah.
And she wasn't a bad mom. She just was, what I learned in my older years now is that she was trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so her marrying the minister was her way of putting stability in our life and saying, this is the best option for us, for y'all to have some, a foundation and someone, so that I admire her for that, but again, you start learning that your parents are just human beings that are trying to live, and you just don't happen to be there. Like, that's a line that I give my kids all the time. Like, I'm not the perfect mother. I'm trying to be the best version of myself so that you all can benefit from the work I'm putting in on me. But I'm not going to get it all the way right. And I just need y'all to have enough, understanding to know that you're not going to get it right. I'm not going to get it. None of us are going to get it right 100% of the time. So you give each other grace, for those things. And it took me a while to get there. I was probably like when I got married the first time, that was when I really started being like, you know what? We all just trying to live out here, like
we all trying to get it right.
Just trying to live. So, I feel like people give people a hard time, but when you don't understand, then I look at my mom's mom. Like, if that was my mom, I probably wouldn't be going through this. You know, like you have to look at the full picture of things. It's like,
Absolutely.
you know, we should always be the next. Like my kids, I'm like, well, I'm giving y'all this extra boost. Now y'all are gonna be way better than me, and then y'all can be better parents, and then your kids are gonna be, you know, that's the cycle that you hope continues. And so I feel like my mom's upbringing wasn't the best for her either, you know. So it's like, well, no wonder she just how she was, because look at what she, you know, had to deal with. So, you know, that's how I feel about that.
What did younger Aries need?
I was a very sensitive child. Like, if you yell at me, I will cry on a drop of a hat. Like, they would call me crybaby because I would just cry. Yell at me, that you might as well have beat me. Like, if you yell at me, you might as well have beat me. My sister, she'd rather get the beat. Okay, whoop me so I can go outside. That's my sister. I'll be like, put me on punishment. I'll stay in the house for a month. Do not put your hands on me. Do not, like, I don't want no whoopings. I don't want none of that. Don't yell at me. Don't do me. You know, like, I was very just sensitive, you know. But I got a lot of anxiety over the years from all the trauma and things that was going on. We lived in a place where people were shooting all the time. You were used to like hitting the deck when you hear a noise, you know, like that was normal for people that you know to die, you know, and, like just be gone from violence and drive-bys and, you know, different stuff like that. Like so many funerals way too early of people that you know, and then the DV stuff was when I was like from 6 to like 8, probably like 5 to 8. And so there was so many instances of just things, and then your family stepping in and coming to save you and getting put out of this place and going to a battered women's shelter, you know, like there was so much. It was just like I wanted security, safety, like just to know that I didn't have to worry. So like I had an aunt who lived in Vallejo, California, and she had this big old house, and she's also my godmother. But she was my mom's older sister. She passed away a year ago, and so thank you. She was like my North Star. Like I felt sick with her because she was like Medea. She had the gun in her purse at all times. So,
let me know. I gotta use it.
You know, at her house, she had guns all over the house. She let you know where they at. Because in her mind, she had this like mentality of like the revolution is gonna come one day. So you need to know, hey, come, we got a gun over here, we got a gun down here. And she let me know as a young child, like where they all were, just in case something happened. Y'all need to know where the guns is at. So that was her. But she had this big old house, and every weekend I would want to go to her house because I was like, I just felt safe. I could just be free. She's the one that taught me how to cook. All my family recipes, like from scratch and stuff like that. It was just like a secure place for me as a kid. So that was my getaway. I used to be like, I want to live here. Can I move here? You know, I wanted to live there.
Safety.
But yeah, so like I did have that as she used to buy my school clothes for me and stuff like that, where my parents couldn't do it.
Fortunately, yeah.
Which made me a better auntie to my nephews. I have 2 nephews. So I was that to them, like their place, you know, when they needed me to take them, come live with me, you know, and all that kind of stuff too. So, you know, I did have that, but I definitely just needed that safe space of just being able to be myself. And I didn't think of things the same way as my family did. They were in survival mode, you know, and I eventually got in survival mode too. But the naive Aries who didn't have all that, you know, experience of what life was really like, wanted just to be just loved. And I remember having a conversation with my aunts, and they were just telling us about like guys and like how you gotta do these dudes, you know, like they were giving the game on, you know, this is how you gotta work it and stuff. And I was just like, I don't understand, but like, what if you want to love the guy?
Love must go first class. Okay.
Love ain't got time. Okay, love got to get, you know, you got to make sure he got something, you know, whatever. And I was just like, but I just want to be in love. They were like, you stupid. Like they would just talk to me like I was done. And you get your heart broken a few times. You're like, you know what? We might have to go back to. Let's go see what they got.
Your words are true.
Right. So yeah, I think that was a plethora of experiences again, but that was what I really wanted, was just that security and safety of just knowing that everything is going to be okay, and you don't have to be scared all the time. Like, I was just scared a lot. I was scared a lot as a kid.
Because of what you had experienced.
Yeah. And so I would cry a lot. I'd be scared of everything. Like, I'm just like, I don't like people playing them games where they be hiding behind stuff and all that. I still to this day don't play with me like that. Like, I don't do that. Do not do all that hiding and all that stuff.
Shake it.
Yeah.
I get that. And that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people are getting it as well in the chat. They can start to see now what you probably meant by the word stability when you were talking to Phil. I think just through your life, I think we can begin to really see what that really entails and what that encapsulates.
It's deeper than just gold digger vibes. Like, yes. It's not even, you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll get to that, but I'm like, child, that ain't even to be honest.
Oh, we'll get there. So you mentioned a lot of scary moments and a lot of crazy things have actually happened, and you know what, you probably have to come on a second time on the channel so you can actually really dissect it. But I want to ask a question to you. So since obviously there's been a lot of times that Aries has had to do things alone, and I like to use the word unprotected, do you feel safe now?
I feel safe now. Yeah. I feel safe now. However, I will say, I've been in therapy for a lot of years. Like, I'm a therapy person. Okay. Like, I love therapy. I'm an advocate. People be like, "Are you a therapist?" I'm like, "No," but everybody needs to get something. Like, I'm always advocating for it because I do still deal with some anxiety stuff. Where like there'll be times where I'm just like sleep and I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be checking I got cameras around my house, like I'll be like making sure ain't nobody in the back door, so I have that too, where I'm like, I got baseball bats, knives, guns, all that.
Make sure.
Don't pull up over here. You pull up over here, it's gonna be a problem. But I definitely, I feel safe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that same. And again, I've created a space of peace in my home. So like, even one of the biggest compliments I got was my son, my oldest son, LJ. He's the one that reminds me of the young me. Because he's in tune with his emotions. He looks at how you are. He can read your emotions too. But it was a couple times where he didn't want to go with his dad for the weekend. And his dad, there's always a bunch of people over there, his grandparents, his aunties, like all that stuff. So my oldest son, I was like, why you don't want to go? Like, what's the problem? He was like, it's just peaceful here. And I was just like, yes, like that's what I want you to always feel.
Big word.
Here is peace, right? Like, it's just, I love being at my house. Like, I've created a space where I want to be. It's nothing like what I grew up in. Again, I told you we had a 1-bedroom house with everybody. Our house was the house in the neighborhood. We was on the corner. Everybody was in and out. And it was just always someone there. There was never really times where it was just like, you're just at home and it's just quiet. Then you just chilling, reading a book, or something like that. That's not how it is here. My sons have their own space. We want to come together, we come together. When everybody want to go in their own space, they go in their own space. Like, that is what I wanted, So I feel like I create that here, as well.
How did you get to, I'm presuming, so how did you get to also, because obviously that's what you described there is a physical feeling, which is, because obviously you've been quite a lot, which is physical, a lot of stuff that you've gone through. It's scary, even some of the things you've gone through. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I'd even come through it myself, right? How did you, if you have got to that place, get to a normalcy of feeling emotionally safe then? So being able to express, share, maybe even receive thoughts and feelings. Do you feel like you're at a place where you are emotionally safe to be able to do that in that space, or to give it or to receive it in any particular fashion?
I'm cautious of who that's with, though. Right. Like I have
I
a
love that.
really good core group of friends. Some are in the chat right now, I think. But friends that have been in my life for years and years and years, you know, that I've known since I was a teenager, you know, or some that I've known since I was a kid, you know. And so I've developed those safe relationships where they see me in all aspects and I can be vulnerable and I can share and they get me. They know me, they know what I've been through. So it gives me that safety net. I think the hard part is when you are meeting people now and they think they get you. They think they just know you by looking at you. They'll be like, oh, you're that type of chick. So let me just treat you like what I think you are. Instead of being more intrigued and wanting to actually learn me. Like I never even get a chance to really tell people my story, to be honest, because they don't get that far. Because you're just thinking that you know who I am already instead of actually being interested in learning. So I don't give that voluntarily. I'm like, if you never get to that point, then that lets me know you haven't asked enough questions or you're not interested in getting to know me enough to learn who I am as a person. Because again, who I am is not just what you see on the surface today. It is, I'm proud of, like, my youngest son was saying something about, like, you know, I want to be successful. He's 12. And I said, well, you have to just determine what is success for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, to me, what I have today, what I'm doing right now, I'm like, I could be good right here. Like, when you talk about contentment in life, there's a point where you are striving, and you could just continue to just keep going. When is it enough? You know, I'm like, I said, you can always get more money. Like, you ain't gonna turn down no more money. You know what I mean? But like, but at this point, I'm like, I feel like I could be good right here. Like, I'm straight. If everything just stayed like this, I would be
Content.
And I feel like I really, for it to be my life, the little girl that I just told you about, it's like a miracle every day when I come in my house. I'm just like, thank you, Jesus, because I know it's nothing but God that put that in my heart to feel the way I felt, to want it, to want to get out, to want, like, it's like a miracle every day when I walk in my house. I'm like, this is my life. Like, I am blessed. You know, that's really how I feel. So I'm like, if I got more than this, I would just be like, I don't even know what to do with
Blessings
it.
upon blessings.
Yeah, it would just be, yeah. So I'm really, really grateful for my life and, you know, where I am right now.
Love that. So then obviously the little you know, Aries you know, grows up, you know, and like you said, you were getting educated from some aunts letting you know, hey, look, these boys are here, you know, love, it's more than love, you know. And you know, you got to look at them look at them properly, you know, vet them. When did you start dating them? Because obviously being so independent, one might think, you know, that you started dating early because, you know, you reach a maturation point a bit more early than most people because you've had to handle a lot more things than you. But when did you start dating, and what was dating like for Aries in those early formative years?
I had my high school boyfriend.
Little boyfriend.
Yeah, he was like the football, basketball, baseball guy, you know, whatever. So that was like the high school thing. My first, I would say my first love, you know, that you want to say is your first love in high school, I guess, you know.
The little husband.
And my first heartbreak as well, because he was
It be like that.
trifling teenage boy. Yeah, y'all don't be right anyway. You know, we be all smart, but they don't be right. So yeah, I had my high school boyfriend, and then he broke my heart. That was just like the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. Like,
How did you take it?
It broke me down. When I say it broke me down to the ground. And then he became kind of this, what do you want to call it? Like, person that was in and out of my life for a long time after that.
Ooh, them ones.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hear you. Caught up like Usher. I hear you.
Yeah. So I had my high school boyfriend. Then when I went to college, I had a college boyfriend. And then coming out of college, like my last year or two of college, I met a guy who was the true love.
Oh.
This is the one I fumbled.
Oh.
I've only fumbled one. Okay. But again, this goes into the church thing.
No. Come on, talk about it, sis.
This goes into the church thing. This was the true love. Like I will say, he probably is who actually messed me up for the rest of my life, because I've experienced real love, like someone who loved me and was that guy who, like, he was the better influence. Like I had my goals, but he was the better influence. He was more mature, same age as me, but more mature. He was telling me, like, because I mean, I was so sprung on this man. And we were, let's say 19, 20, like that 19, 20, 21. And I was like, I will have this man's babies. And I know I don't want to have no babies before I get a certain age, but I'm like, we gonna be together. Like, I just love him, just everything. And he's like, we are not having no kids until we graduate school and we get married. Like, he was the one that was like, no, we're gonna be together. Like, we were going to college together. We were just, all this. And he was just the one who actually had enough, like, guts to correct me when I was wrong, but in the spirit of, I want you to be better. I don't know how he was so mature at a young age, but he would just be like, you are selfish and you need to work on that. And I was just like, okay, let me work on it. Like, I don't want you to feel this way about me. Like, I thought I loved him so much that I wanted to be better for our relationship. Like,
Thank you for admitting that. Thank you for admitting that.
I was like, I want to be better for this. Like, I don't want him to leave me because I'm being dumb. Like, I love this man. So I was just like, he was the apple of my eye. But at the same time that I was going through this relationship, I was also going through kind of a spiritual battle, I guess you would say, because I was I wasn't going to church. I was kind of like just fornicating and living this old good life.
Hey, we will. Don't worry, man. I hear you. Don't even worry. I ain't judging you, sis. There ain't no judgment for me.
I was just in love and like, listen, Lord, I'm gonna have to repent, okay? Hey, and I started getting convicted about that part of our relationship. And I remember I was just driving. I was in a bookstore in Berkeley, and I was like, let me go see if my pastor is having a Bible study. It's a Wednesday night. I'm gonna just go to Bible. I'm gonna just see if they have a Bible study tonight. And I feel like when I went in there, it was like the Lord was like, get her, like my pastor literally at the end of Bible study was like, Aries. Like, he called my name, like, come over here after, like, he wanted to talk to me because I hadn't been to church in so long. And he called me up, and my best friend is in there. She knows. It's like the traumatizing story. But he called me into the office with him and his wife and stuff. Was like, we've been looking for you. Like, where you been? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm feeling like, okay, this is really like, I need to be like, they are, like, they're on me, right now. And they're like, I'm gonna give you my wife's number and y'all need to connect. And so, like, I just started, and I'm like, Sunday I'm gonna go to church. Then Wednesday I go to Bible study. So I really was just like faithful to the church. And he wasn't really doing that at the time, I
understand.
She's my best friend said the church owes her reparations, for real. So, but what I learned was, so they were now, again, I'm in a vulnerable state where I know I need to be right with God, but also they were trying to get me to connect with the youth pastor because he was like in this entanglement that they didn't want him to be.
Entanglement?
It was
relationship.
Like entanglement. And relationship. So basically, I learned that later. I didn't know this at the time. I just was like, okay, they're looking out for me, they're like, you can't be fornicating and stuff. You need to get out of this relationship. And when I tell you, it hurt me so bad to feel like I got to break up with him. Like, what are you saying? I have to break up? Like, I have to break up with him? Like, are you crazy? And I trusted my leadership in the church at that time so much that I just like severed that relationship. And it hurt both of us really, really bad. Like it's the one regret I would say I have in my life. And I don't have regrets in life. Like I feel like everything's a blessing and all this. And so what happened was they would invite me out to dinner after church every Sunday almost. And everybody, people want to be cool with the pastor and all that. But I knew them already from like when I was a little kid. So these are people that I've been knowing, my whole life. And they were like, come on to dinner, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. And then the youth pastor be there and I'll be like, I wasn't even liking him. Like it was nothing that I was liking. But I also was sitting there like, okay, like, should I be liking him? Like, he got the resume is good. He's a church going man. And, and I'm just in this kind of vulnerable state, which I really feel like as I looked back on this time, I was not, this is the decision I would never make today, right? The mature version of myself. Right? But at the time, I was so vulnerable spiritually that I was really trying to do the right thing for,
I understand.
And I'm like, should I not be as shallow, and be like, well, he's the good guy and you should like this dude and all this stuff like that. So that's kind of what got me connected to this person. And that was my first husband. That was the first marriage. I was 22 years old. 22 years old when I married this man. And from the day of the marriage, it was the worst thing I ever did. It was the worst.
Why was it the worst?
It was so bad. I eventually later learned that he had a lot of narcissistic traits, which I didn't even know what a narcissist was about less than 10 years ago. I had no idea what a narcissist was. But when people kept saying it, I'm like, what is a narcissist? Let me go look this up, and I started looking at the things and I was like, this is sounding a lot like what I was dealing with. Like, it was a lot of like flipping things to make me look like we would be in an argument and I would be like, I need to apologize. Like and it was just a lot of that, a lot of those same traits. And he had the traits of like, he would be like the apple of the church's eye. And then when he would come home, he would be terrorizing me, basically. It was like making me think I wasn't good enough. And, because of the life I've lived before him. And like, he was like the golden child or whatever. And it was just it was a lot of, he's actually a full-time pastor now, married with 2 kids and stuff like that. But literally from the honeymoon, we were at it. Like, it was just bad. Like, he would be on our way to church and he would be pulling the car over at the side of the road, walking off and just doing all these antics. And, where I would be like, you know what? I don't really want to talk about this right now. And I would be trying to like stay calm and be cool. And then he would be poke until I like explode. And then he'd be like, act like he's scared of me. And I'm like, you just got to doing all this to me. Now you act like you scared because I'm going on. Like, now you the victim, whatever. So it was just really, really bad. I mean, it's some stories that I could tell you. I could write a whole book about that one. It was just a whole experience. And then there was a church factor where he's the youth pastor. He's very loved, and faking for the church, and just being there and people not knowing what's going on for real in our life. Trying to do counseling. He didn't want to go to therapy. It was heck of stuff. It was just bad. It was crazy. And so I had to make a decision at a point where, when I got married, I really was thinking like, I don't want to be getting divorces and stuff because when I get married, I'm going to be married. Like, I had that in my mind because I've seen divorce so much, I was just like, nope, not me. So I stayed in that marriage way longer than I probably should have because I was just like, I don't want to get a divorce. But then there was a point where I was like, Aries, you want kids, you want stuff, and you don't want nothing with this man. Like, in your 20s, you're sitting there like, if I have kids with him, I got to deal with this man for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but life.
I'm not doing it. I'm too young for this, And the last straw, there was 2 instances where both of my grandparents, when we first got married, my grandmother on my dad's side had passed away about 6 months after we got married, and he showed his ass, where he was like he was mad at me because I didn't introduce him to people at the funeral. Well, he was like with my mom the whole time. I was with my dad because that was his mom. and my mom was with him, and she was the one introducing him to people in the family. But this ain't like a wedding; it's a funeral, you know. So he, like, in the car on the way home from the funeral, he was like going off on me about how I didn't introduce him to people, and I was just like, "You are selfish! Like, it's my grandmother in the casket. Like, you understand? Like, you know, the last time she was like with her siblings was at my wedding, you know, 6 months before. So like, you have no compassion, no none of that for me. And then the last straw was my mom's mom got sick and passed right the week of Christmas, like December 23rd. All my grandparents passed in December at different years. And so you had a second opportunity to be better. Like, you had, this is 5 years later now, you know. And he was like, "We supposed to go to my mom's house for Christmas. She gonna be mad." I'm like, "Yeah, my grandmother had plans for Christmas too, but she did now. So like, I'm gonna need you can go.
Get together. Yeah,
go." You know, it was just kind of like my last straw with him at that point. I was like, "I'm done with this. I'm not about to be dealing with this fool. He don't care nothing about me. He over here just worried about his stuff, his family, his, you know, whatever, his image." Like, it was very image driven, you know, with him being a big part of like we were Pentecostal Assemblies of the World. So it was a big deal, you know, the councils and the conventions and all that. He had leadership positions and stuff like that. So it was a lot of like trying to keep up with the Joneses and, you know, all this stuff. And I had got us out of debt, like all this, and he would just run it up, you know, financially trying to keep up and stuff like that. It was a lot of foolery going on. So that's how I ended up getting divorced. And I moved to Texas after that to like just be like, you know what? My job it was an opportunity that came up, and I was like, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm moving to Texas. So that's kind of how I ended up in Texas with my company, because I was just like, this is it. And it's funny because he tried to get me back after I had filed and everything, and was like, "You could come. I'll pay. You don't have to work. I'll pay for everything, and I'll just come back." And because he didn't want people to know that he didn't want that on his record, you know,
reputation. Yeah,
you a divorce minister? Like, that's your whole life. You know, it was all about the image and the ministry and all this stuff. And I was just like, I'm out of here. I don't want to live this life. So that's how the first marriage, and it was really traumatizing. I ain't gonna lie. I was just telling my best friend the other day, I said, there was stuff that he would be doing to where I was like, I never even thought of some of the stuff he would come up with, to where I'm like,
pushing your reality.
My brain is gonna start doing what he does. Like, I don't even want to be thinking the way he thinks.
That's usually how narcissists go. Yeah, that's how narcissists usually go.
Yeah. So I was like, and I didn't know what that was until later, when I really looked, you know, when I researched that and started putting pieces together about that relationship. But I didn't know. I just was like, this dude crazy. Like, it was a lot of, it felt like emotional abuse. It felt like psychological abuse, honestly.
Yep. That's what it is.
He was like, "I'll be miserable forever. I ain't going to no therapy." Because what happened was, we were going with my pastor, and he didn't even trust the pastor because he knew his business. So he can't tell me nothing, you know. And then I said, "Well, let's go to somebody outside." And that first meeting with the outside people, they was like, that don't work. So he's like, "We ain't going back to them." Like, he didn't want to go to the outside people because they was giving real stuff. So anywho, that's how the first one ended. I was 26, I think, no, 27 when that one.
Was that 4 years? 4 or 5 years?
It was just like a month under 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 27, you've moved obviously to Texas now.
Yeah.
And then how does the next well, actually, I don't know what before I even jumped at. I know obviously you get into a relationship, but I'm saying, was any relationship between that where, you know, it was significant for you, or that you learned some things in before
I got closure with the first guy. The one that the heartbreak.
The one that got away.
Yeah.
What was the closure?
Oh my God, it's so traumatizing. Okay.
Why was it traumatizing?
Because I felt so bad about what happened. I was like, I just want to say I'm sorry. Like, I feel like I have to, you know, just whatever. So I did that, and he was just like we sat down and talked. It was just like, whoa. And he was like, it's so crazy that we're having this conversation because like he had just came back from asking his girlfriend's dad to for
Let
permission.
him. Yeah.
When I tell you that I broke down.
You're supposed to come back and be with me, baby.
I wasn't even thinking that was gonna be the case, but like
Fair
my
enough.
body betrayed me in that moment because you know you be trying to be a thug.
Real
I'm
tough.
just like, you know, I'm gonna have that moment, you know, I'm just gonna get the closure and then we're gonna say, you know, God bless you, move on. And we said that when he said that, like it felt so much more permanent. I just got out of marriage, so how I'm about to be mad about you gonna propose to somebody. But when he said that, my tear ducts just was like, and he was just like, oh my God, like, whoa. Because he hadn't even never seen me cry. Like, I really didn't start crying until my later years of life. I had stopped myself from being a crybaby when I turned about 15. I kind of went on this like, F everybody, no one cares about your tears. So it's time to be a thug out here, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But when that happened, I just remember just like I was just like, oh my God, I am so sorry. Like I did not mean it, you know, these tears be happening. And then when I left him, I got in the car and called my mom. She was like, yeah, he about to marry somebody.
You slide on the wall?
I was like, yeah. And it's crazy because there was like a little moment where he kind of had a pause. Because he was about to marry.
Of course, because yeah.
He had a little pause because he felt a little something too. But I knew I was gonna come to Texas and I'm like, I'm just gonna reset my life, you know, and do that. And that's what happened. So I ended up moving to Texas. He moved on with he's married and got 2 kids and stuff like that or whatever now. His mom tried to add me on Facebook and I had to unfriend her because as soon as I got on her page and saw them pictures, I was like, the devil is a lie. I'm not looking. The devil is a lie. So I just had to unfollow her. I said, I don't even need to see these wedding pictures with grandkids and all that. No, thank you. So moved to Texas. Now the boy's dad and I used to work together for the same company.
Okay.
So I met him probably 6 months after I got married to the first guy. So he was around in the background as a coworker, right? But when it was a bunch of us that moved to Texas. It was a big move because we were opening up a new call center here. I used to work for ADRESSING. And I was following my boss to come here. And he was following me. I didn't know that at first. He was following me. I was thinking about him. I was like, I'm coming to Texas. I'm going to see what the Southern hospitality is talking about. Let me see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? They said that the country boys do it better. You know, let's see what's really happening. Well, he was tagging along and we were friends too. So it was like, you know, it wasn't no big deal, but he knew stuff, but never was like a hater or nothing like that or tried to holler at me when I was married. But when we got here, it was like every time we would go out, me and his sister became really good friends. And every time we would go out, he would act jealous. And I was like, you kind of hate, you know, it's like we up here trying to pull dudes and you hating, you know. And eventually he like confessed his love for me and all that. And I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm good. Like, I've been knowing you for too long. I feel like you kind of know a little bit too much about business, a little bit. So I actually was like 2 years, I rejected him. You know, I was just like, nah, we gonna stay friends. Let's just keep it cute. Eventually he wore me down.
Over time.
That's his very strong his strength is persistence. Like he stayed on. There was a moment where my dad actually had a heart attack, and I had to go back home to California for like a month. And I had left the company. I left AT&T. I went to a new company. So I also didn't believe in dating people I work with. I don't do that.
I hate that.
So I had left the company. I went to California for a month to take care of my dad after the heart attack. And he was like taking care of my house and making sure things were good and calling me and doing all that. So it was like I'm in this like, you know, vulnerable state. And he weaseled his way on in during that time. Because I was like, I'm over here dealing with these, you know, looking at these other regular dudes and he's just being consistent. I should just give this man a chance, you know, like he over here to helping me and doing stuff and caring and all that. And then when we came back, it's just like we were already cool and going out and kicking it and stuff like that. So it was kind of just like, okay, what does dating look like for us? Like, you know, we hadn't like crossed that line or whatever yet. And so it was just like a year of that, of like figuring out what dating looked like for us. And then he proposed. And then we got married.
Oh. What was dating like then? So the dating was good?
It was like
dating
the same. You just added some sex in there, you know?
Oh, so it's just the same. So
It
was
was
that what
we going to the
looking
movie
back at it?
with friends, you know, doing stuff,
Okay.
hanging out, game nights. We were already kind of had our little community of people who came from California here. So we all lived in the same community. We had built our houses in the same like kind of subdivision type thing. So it was just like, okay, you just add a little something in there. And we were friends, so I felt like I cared about him as a friend. It wasn't like nothing was ever that love. It was
You were missing the sparkle.
It was never that. After that first one, that was it. I never had that, you know, but it was also like he's the opposite of the other guy. And sometimes you'll feel like you got the opposite, so that's better. And that's not always the case. That's one thing I would say I learned is that I'm thinking, oh, well, he's nothing like this dude. But not necessarily better, because I still...
What was missing?
I needed to do more due diligence, I think, because again, some of the issues I dealt with in the first one were really, when I talk about like loyalty and security, I felt like with the first one, some of the issues were family and church, in our business, in our no boundaries, and felt like they had priority over me. I'm your wife. I'm trying to, you know, we're trying to create a foundation for us, and you're choosing these other people over me. It's basically, you might as well be cheating on me at this point. Like, that's how I feel. When someone is like that with me, if we say we're in a relationship,
spiritual adultery,
you need to have my back. Like, you need to, I need to be priority, you know? And so with the boys' dad, it was the same. It was like his family, I learned, because his family ended up moving to Texas, and the dynamic was something I didn't know, because I didn't have that. They weren't here, you know? So I didn't know how you are with your mom and dad, and how you are with your family, and how they look at you, and how you are with your daughter's mom. And it was baby mama drama up the yin yang. When you had told me you didn't have no baby mama drama this whole time, because he knew I did not want to date nobody who had kids. That was a big thing for me. And he convinced me that he had this excellent co-parenting relationship, and it was not at all. It was the opposite of excellent. It was crazy. Cray. But by the time I found out, we were already married 3 months and pregnant. And once I got pregnant, that's when all hell broke loose with the baby mama. She just can't, you know, I was just like, okay. So that was that. He had been running the game for a long time, because the whole friendship, you've been telling me everything was great with the baby mama. So you've been liking me without telling me you liked me for a longer time than I really realized that you was trying to talk to me, you know? So it is what it is. And we got through that after it took about 3 years to get past that. But as soon as we got past that, now your mom and daddy acting crazy. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, you know, it just became a whole foolery. It just became a whole bunch of foolery. And I tried to work on it, you know, for a long time. Like, I treated his parents like they were my parents. They can come and go in my house. I mean, it was just like, but it was one of those things where if I don't go, if I don't agree, then I'm the enemy. Like, can y'all call before you come? I would tell him, like, can you ask them to call before they come? Like, they live like 50 minutes away.
That's boundaries. Yep.
And just because, like, I got these kids, I'm breastfeeding one of them, I'm trying to, like, we got play dates and things that's going on. I want to know that they're coming so I can prepare. As a wife, you want to make sure your house is together. You want to make sure you're ready for company. And he would never speak to his parents. He was scared of it. It was like he was scared of it. So then what happens is I'm the bad guy, because then if I speak,
you're gonna be in trouble. Yeah.
Speaking. You know, like, who do you think you are? You know? And I'm like, well, I'm the queen of this castle, baby. So then you know, it becomes this thing of like, well, now we got to go. We're going to have to, this is going to have to be, you know, since you can't speak up, then I'm going to speak now. Now I'm the boss. Because that's what ended up happening. I started just being like, you know what? When we get to the, you know, losing respect for someone, when you can't open your mouth for your family who's right here. And we did do the therapy. We did counseling for a year with my pastor, where he was telling him, writing a script for him on what to say. And he still wouldn't do it. And I was just like, I told the pastor, I said, don't give us no more homework assignments. I'm over it. Because he's not doing it. He don't care. He's not going to do it, you know, like whatever. And then it became this whole thing with the parent. And we kind of got at, we had a big old, it was a knockdown, drag out. And again, I have it in me. I could go there. Okay. I'm a better person today. It's been 10 years since that, right? I've been divorced 10 years at this point now. So a lot of time has passed, a lot of work has been done, but it's in there. Okay. So like, you try to challenge me too hard. All right, well, you know, and I was respecting them as my elders and really trying to like mediate a situation, like being like, you know, and I love y'all, like y'all, my parents, like just, you know, the way I even presented was like trying to be as tender as possible, and they were not respecting it at all. It don't matter, you know. I'm like, everything I've ever done for them was like nothing. It was like it didn't matter, and I was just like, I was really hurt by it. To be honest with you, it really hurt me because I felt like I just opened myself up, gave them a lot, shared things with them about my own life, and they used it against me, you know, afterward, where me and his mom had this big old argument. She was like, my son, at least he didn't raise himself. That was the one moment where I was like, oh, this bitch.
You want to talk about mamas?
My mom was here. I remember that moment when she said, at least my son didn't raise himself. I said, okay. It's like that scene on 40-Year Virgin when Chris Rock, boy, he was like, you want nigga here now. The nigga here now. Right? Okay. I said, well, let's talk about your son who ain't got no balls and no backbone. You want to talk about, the son you raised who ain't got no balls and no backbone, who's scared to touch his mom? Oh, I went all the way there at that point. I'm like, oh,
you've been holding.
So it was all bad because at that point I'm like, F yeah, F everybody, blow the whole thing up. Now you don't even know what's going on because he's at work.
I understand.
And my best friend will tell you the funniest thing was the whole argument kind of came because this is the funniest thing because this is kind of the last straw was he asked me, we had already been not cool with the parents, and he asked me, he said, my mom want to borrow the turkey fryer. We're about to have Thanksgiving, right? But we usually have Thanksgiving here. And this is the 1 year where we going at it. So I said, she got some nerve to be asking me about my turkey fryer. Hells to the no. She can't use my turkey fryer. My turkey fryer, right? And so it's 3 days before Thanksgiving. I said, hell no to him when he asked me. This is like 3 weeks before, right? Hell no, right? Absolutely not. And I'm very clear. She can't use my damn turkey. So 3 days before Thanksgiving, he had told me that his parents got all mad because he wasn't going to be there for Thanksgiving. He was going to go the next day. It was something like that, whatever. It was a miscommunication about the dates and da-da-da. So this was the call I was making to say, hey, you know, I heard there was a miscommunication, and you know, the whole thing is, you know, we probably should have communicated a lot better about what we're going to do, but since we didn't, I already have people coming here. Like my dad's coming, I got to go pick him up. Like it was all this conflict. They were just pissed. They didn't care what I was saying. And then it became this knockdown, drag out. We get to the point where she's like, you know, at least he didn't raise himself and all this stuff. We get to all that. And then she said something about the turkey. She mentions the turkey fryer. She said something like, he brought that turkey fryer over here 3 weeks ago.
She knew what she was doing, though.
Cold job. I didn't let her see me sweat I didn't say nothing. But I was like, as soon as I hang this phone up, I'm calling this fool. If I went to the garage first, like, let me make sure he didn't bring right. He went and bought one and brought it over there. You know, because that was what you wanted to do. If that's what you want to be, that kind of son, go buy one and go bring it over there, right? I look at my garage. I said, "Oh hell no!" Now I am furious. And
no, you got to find a turkey fryer.
This is like the infamous turkey fryer. I called his phone. He at work, and I didn't even say hi. He answered phone. I said, "Did you bring my turkey fryer to your mama's house?"
I know he was sweating.
It was just silence.
I know he's sweating.
Bring my turkey fryer to your mama's house, and he was like, well, I had thought that I could." He didn't even realize how you use a turkey fryer on Thanksgiving. Like, he's thinking I could bring it, then I'm gonna bring it back. No, Negro, we do it on the day of. Like, you use it on the day, right? And I said, do not come back here without my turkey fryer. Which means he had to drive an hour after he get off work to go to their house. Go get my, I want mine. I want my turkey fryer. Now I'm just like, everything.
I don't want a new one. I want this one.
I want my turkey fryer. And then, yeah, and it was this whole thing. And at that point, it was kind of like we were, that was like, get my damn turkey fryer and bring it back to my house. Now, he went and got that dang turkey fryer and brought it back home. And after that, I was like, it was like, you know what you could do? Since you and your mom and them are so close, you could go with your mom. How about that? How about you go with your mom? That would be really cool. If you want to pick her over me, here we go again with the. And again, this kind of goes back to that thing. It's not even about like neither one of them. I don't feel like they cheated on me or did anything like that, but I felt the same betrayal of like, I'm not priority. Your family, your immediate family, you have kids with me. Peace, you know, and we're not priority to where you can't even step up enough to speak up to your own parents. I had to talk to my mama for a year before I got pregnant. So, you know, I got boundaries. As crazy as people was thinking that I would just listen to my mama during the show, I'm like, please, I got a mind of my own. I've been having one. So that to me is bigger than anything.
I agree.
I know that can I trust you with things, with me, with our family, with our life, you know, like if I don't feel like I can, you can't even say nothing to your mama. Nah, you're not the person for me. You're not, we can't, what can we do? And then I'm the bad guy forever. Like, it was just, so it was one of those things where I was like, my parents divorced, or, you know, they broke up when I was probably like 4 or 5. I barely remember them together, but they co-parented really well, even through all the drama, you know? So I was like, well, if I get a divorce early, because I know this ain't gonna work. You know, my kids are like 2 and 4, or about to turn 2 and 4. And I was like, they won't be used to us being together and we'll just co-parent, you know? If I wait, I feel like all my friends that their parents divorced later, they were like more traumatized almost. Because they were used to that being your family unit and all that. And it was just so much that I felt like his side of the family was very toxic, like, and how they used to try to maneuver us. And it was no boundaries. None. Just your daddy can walk up in here with a key, just willy-nilly.
What's he walking up in there for?
Yeah, it was crazy stuff. Just, you know, like their family, because he was the first child, he's the oldest too, but the first one who got married. So they weren't even knowing how to have an in-law, you know, a daughter-in-law, or like respect that. They felt like, well, they can come and go here. Well, that's because y'all are their parents. Like, that's y'all created that space. But you don't want to respect my space. You know, this is our family space too, where I might be in my drawers. You know, how you know I want company today? Maybe I just don't feel like it. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna tell y'all it's cool because at least I have an hour before I know y'all gonna come. But it's just the respect factor. Like they felt like I was being disrespectful for saying I want y'all to call before. Like you're disrespectful for saying you want me to call before you come. How dare you? I'm like, no, you're disrespectful for not wanting to call before you come.
You were overstepping their boundaries for a long time.
Yeah, so it was just a lot of that, and it got ugly, and he was just choosing them every time. So I pulled the trigger. It was very hard those first couple years because he felt like, you know, he comes from this family where the parents been together since he was, you know, forever. So he felt better than me because he came from a family with you know, this foundation, and you don't look at marriage the same way as me. I'm like, no, you don't look at marriage the same way as me, because if you did, you would be picking your family, you know, first. And so I had to go through kind of like not guilting myself for making that choice, because he definitely tried to guilt trip me for a long time, you know, for the first couple of years. But I stayed focused because I'm like, I don't want my kids to have a traumatic experience. So I was to be the martyr of the situation and let him just talk crazy and be however and be ugly in the beginning, until I was doing it for so well, which it was very hard, trust me, because you know I got the comebacks. You can't really you know, like I could go there. And then eventually I got so good at it that he just kind of, I think he looked up and was like, I'm kind of being mean. Like, she's not even fighting back, you know? And it just started really getting better, you know? And it got easier for me to like, just, Aries, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing back. You know, let them go ahead and feel whatever. And I'll tell the boys, like, mommy and daddy are on a team and y'all on a team. Like, we're a team, you know, even though we weren't really being a team all the way yet. I just would say that. I was just kind of make it like I'm on daddy's side, you know, and y'all are y'all's each other's people, you know, whatever, and just all that. So it was hard. That's why I wasn't dating really like that, because I just didn't have time. I was focused on that. Again, we've been divorced 10 years now. I really haven't dated until then, you know, until the last 6 years or somewhere around there. So thinking about someone who's been married since 22, and that last divorce, I was 34. This is really my first time like dating in this day and age, you know. So having to learn this new style of dating, which is nothing like what it was when I was dating when I was younger, and how men were, you know, getting like, I mean, I've been married twice, so it's like, and both times I was only dating for 6 months the first one and a year the second, you know, and I was proposed to. So it wasn't like I had to go through all this like.
So it was only like a year gap between the next proposal.
It was 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. Okay, 2 years between the next proposal. Okay, that's fair.
But I hadn't done any work in between. That was the difference. I didn't do any. Why did you make that decision the first time? What, like, I really didn't do enough reflection and like work on myself before I got married the second time. That was the thing I learned. Maybe I took it too far now that it's been 10 years, but mainly that's a fear tactic now because I have 2 kids and it's not the same.
You can't just, yeah.
I can't just be jumping up and stuff. I have to
can't do willy-nilly.
I think about my own childhood, my mom getting married multiple times, and me not feeling safe all the time and not wanting to bring trauma into my kids' life and bring some dude up in their life. And they'd be like, Mom, what the hell? Who is this dude? You know, like, what you bring up in our world? We got peace over here. So I'm not trying to bring nobody who got, some wild kids, the baby mama drama and all that stuff. We don't live that life. That's not the life we got going over here. We're good over here. You know what I'm saying? So,
You know what? It's interesting. You know, like someone might say the universe teaches us lessons and puts us in situations to learn stuff. But I think it's quite intriguing when you told your story that, especially that second marriage, that there were breaches that were very similar to what you had experienced in childhood.
Hmm.
Priority, being a priority, you know, people coming in and out the house like you were when you were younger, physical
Hmm.
safety. So we got both emotional and physical safety being in question, you know. And then obviously then you got in-laws who were, you know, doing way too much, who were kind of, you know, making the relationship that you have and the marriage that you have even more tough. And in
Hmm.
fact, actually, you start fending for yourself once again in that marriage. So you're in a place where you're back to square one as a child again, almost reliving and having to hash out some of those harsh realities that you experienced as a child. That's
Yeah.
painful.
I feel like that's been my life. Like I just have always been fending for myself. And so when
Mm.
I'm looking at adding someone to my life, I ain't adding you for me to continue to fend.
Mm.
I'll just do it by myself if I'm gonna do that. I want someone, and again, I have money. It's not money, you know. Again, I live a life that I'm proud of, that I work really, really, really hard on. You know, when me and the boys' dad divorced, we were making the same amount of money. We didn't have money. Money wasn't our issue. It was other stuff, right? Like we would just put all our money in the account and do everything we need to do, you know, out of the account. It was never, that wasn't even a topic for us. But once I got divorced, then I had to replace that income. So I started doing things to better my life for my kids so that I can, you know, now I gotta, you know, bring more money in. So I have to, you know, maneuver the corporate space and do all these different things to bring myself to a level where I can do for myself. And I don't need anybody else to help me do anything. So that was, you know, that was what it was. And so now I'm like, I don't have a lot of sympathy for men who aren't getting their shit together. I'm sorry. I gave you a lot of information about my life. I've
Mm.
been a go getter my whole life. And so you got to have your stuff together. And I need to know you can handle business. And I trust you to do things. Like, I just had these people put some new sod in the front of my house. It was not cheap. It was like all this stuff I had to do. And I'm like, would you know who to call to like do the stuff? Like, I just need to know you know how to handle a house, a home, a family. Like, you like, I got this, babe. Let me take care of this. Let me call this person. Like, can you handle? If you can't, then
Why are you here?
what we doing? You know, so that's kind of how I look at things. I'm just like very like,
That's fair.
yeah.
But can you trust? But can you trust somebody to take that role though, without
Yeah, I need to
overtaking them?
see evidence that you can do it. Do you have your own?
Mm.
Are you doing it? You know, if I see that you are doing it, you know, there's men that I've dated that have their own homes. They know how to do stuff. They're like, oh, I can fix that for you. I'll bring, you know, such and such, or refer me to somebody who they use, or something like that. So yes, I would totally trust that if I see that you have. I need to see evidence of something in your life. I need to see the fruit of the spirit, the fruit on the physical. You know, show me some fruit. So that's really the thing for
Mm. Okay.
me.
Okay.
Got your brain moving around.
No, do you know what it is? And people, I know I have a predominantly women audience, so they will understand where you're coming from. I think from a man's perspective, whenever you hear women say, I need you to handle your ish, there usually is a subconscious energy that flows
Mm-hmm.
that men, when they encounter you, tend to know that they don't have much scope to get anything wrong. There's no room to get anything wrong before you want to overtake and say I can handle it, or you know what, if you're not a great leader straight away. And I think sometimes as men, we sense a lot of energy from other parties, and we're like, yeah, I can't grow here because if I make a mistake here, you're gonna feel unsafe. You might feel, like, I'm not a good leader, etc., etc., and that immediately cancels us from that space. I'm just giving a perspective. I'm not saying that's necessarily 100% that's you. I'm just saying that and giving another perspective, because oftentimes we tell it from the women's side, and I'm saying from the men's side, when we're tasked to want to come into a leadership position, we also want your trust, where it doesn't mean that if I make a mistake that you're now going to take over or feel like you're not safe anymore, because now we feel unsafe, because now we know that you feel unsafe. We now know that we don't have your trust in this leadership, which means at this point anything can go wrong for us. Because if we make mistakes,
communication comes in. Communication is key for me. Like, I'm a person, I am very direct when it comes to just let me know what's up. Like, if we're being vulnerable with each other and we're being honest with what the needs are, I feel like you can tell me, like, hey, you can kind of anticipate that I'm probably gonna want to do something, and you'd be like, I got it, babe. Like, you ain't got it. Don't move. Tell me, and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna sit down. I ain't gonna say nothing because I really don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It would have brought me so much joy to not have to deal with this stuff I have to deal with around this house. Anything I have to do in my house, I get mad that there's no man here. I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this work, So that part I don't want to do. So it's just let me know that you're handling it. Then I don't want to micromanage you. I don't want to do it. So that's why I'm like, communication is key. If someone feels that way and then they don't say anything and they just start hiding it and stuff, then I'm gonna be like, what the hell going on? Like, speak, use your vowels, So I just feel like communication is key. And that's the part that you can't be scared to fail. We're all gonna mess something up sometimes. But trust that I'm gonna be okay if you mess something up too. But use your words.
That's fair.
So
that's fair. You're right. I mean, it takes communication, and I think both parties need to be. I think that's something that you were kind of maybe you said earlier on in the beginning, which is you haven't really had much time to maybe explain your story, right? Because I have a few friends, women, and very similar to yourself. They are go-getters. They have businesses. One of my friends, she's successful, like in what she does. I mean, she does business. You know what I mean? But like a lot of times, and I always say as well, even myself, a lot of us who are successful are born out of trauma. That's why we're so successful, because our trauma informs us to want to succeed so we can outdo what we have seen. And what's interesting also though is that the difficulty of letting go, and myself included. This is not you; it's me included. I control issues. You know what I mean?
Because environment. Because you're like
environment.
One of the things with me was like, I didn't have control when I was a child. I had to do whatever my parents had me doing. Right? When I'm adult, I'll be like, what I ain't gonna do is be doing some stuff that I don't want to do, and I'm grown. I could choose to get the hell out of this. I don't have to do this. As a kid, you have to be wherever your parents are. As an adult, you can choose to not be in that anymore. So that was the thing for me. Like, I ain't gotta do nothing but be black and die. So I think that's control is hard when you're trying to, because you didn't have control. So it's like, now I can make these decisions.
And you ain't gonna put me in that same position as I was before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that before we get into mental love, I think what's key about what you're saying, I think, I'm not even just saying, but I think in terms of anybody who is any kind of gone through anything like you've gone through any ounce of, and where you feel like you have to control, and we all have these, most of us do. But you mentioned something really interesting, which is the opportunity to actually share your actual story, because I think that's what makes it difficult. Because sometimes when that's why I give the male perspective, right? I was saying, from a male perspective, I'm seeing you, Aries. I spend time every day listening to people and telling them, listening to their stories. So you build your muscles for empathy. But in relationships, what is missing a lot of times for a lot of people is actually spending time in the early stages, really getting to know the person that they're actually with, because I need to find out what kind of things trigger you. For instance, if I know that, you know what, I know we've made jokes about stability, but as you explained your story, there are things like, for instance, the house situation. If I knew that personally, I don't like no one coming to my yard like that. You know, parents can't come to a yard like that just without asking. You know what I mean? That will mess me up. They know already that you don't just step to my house because I will leave you outside. So, like, just if I
Even
know
my
that,
mom knows that now. I'll be like, text me, mom. I'm gonna be coming to the door.
you gonna stand outside in the rain.
You don't know what's going on.
You know, so if I now know that about you, I then can do some stuff to make sure that I'm also protecting you in that way. And I think that's where, as a man, when we're talking about real leadership, it is in those areas when we're talking about mental and emotional. I really do. That's what the Bible says, dwell with women according to knowledge. I need to really get to know you and vice versa, so that there are things that, for instance, the air fryer situation. Like, if you tell that story out of context, it is not that deep. But it becomes deep when we're talking about priorities and talking about how people are enmeshing themselves into a relationship. Again, from my perspective, I go, okay, the air fryer thing might not be that deep, but it's deep because I'm breaking boundaries here. Let me just get a new air fryer for Marge and whatever, because I know how much it's going to hurt you. I just think is that aspect a lot of times for people in relationships, we don't often get the time to really
That's the part
listen to
we
each
missed from
other.
like the olden days. I feel like the way when you were younger, all you could do was really talk. You couldn't do as much spending time together either, because especially for me, like I was like, you could be like dating and doing this and that, but you talked more. You know, I feel like getting to know someone's story is so huge. And so for me, it's like I'm only gonna share as much as you try to learn, you know. That was one of Maurier's benefits in the process, is he was curious, you know, about people. So people like, I like Maurier. Doesn't hear everybody say, I like Maurier, because he was just like learning about everybody. I feel like for me, I was always the curious child. I always had friends from like diverse backgrounds, because I was like, I want to know everything about you. Like, I want to know why you're Buddhist, why you're Hindu, why you're Muslim. Like, because then it helps me learn you as my friend, why you believe the way you believe. When you make decisions, you make them because you believe these things. So I need to know what you believe so that I can be closer to you, right? So I feel the same way with me. It's like the depth that you want to be closer to me is how much you're going to try to get to know. And so if I don't feel like you're trying to really get to know me, then I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep you in that box. You're going to be in that little box over there.
That little box over there.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep it to the side.
Exactly.
So for you then, what takes you on to Ready to Love? Because listen, you're a very beautiful woman. You know, you're very smart, intelligent. You know, someone might say, well, what does she need Ready to Love for? You know, she doesn't have no problems getting suitors. Someone might say from the outside in, right? But what was your motivation for going on to Ready to Love? Because you actually, like myself, you've been reviewing the show, you've watched the show, you know about the show like myself, right? So what takes you on to Ready to Love?
First of all, I said I would never go on Ready to Love. That's the funniest part.
That's the first mistake you made, baby.
I said I would never go on Ready to Love. And I am a fan of the show. I've watched the show since the beginning. Love, love, love. But I was on another show called Love on Stage with Kev on Stage and Mrs. Kev on Stage, his wife Melissa, on their platform, Kev on Stage Studios. And it was a virtual dating show during COVID. So it was kind of like, you know, during COVID, I was in the house. Like I was that person who was just at my house the whole time. I don't do online dating. And again, it's not that I don't meet guys. It was like something different, you know, to do. So when I did that show, it was a very different scenario, like how it's set up. But the audience picks the person for you, and you get the one person. That's it. And you do 3 dates virtual like this. These were the dates. 2 dates like this with the person, and then the third date was like a group date with the rest of the 2 other couples. And that my guy was a red pillar manosphere guy. So like a lot of the reason when you see there go Miss Niecy, she in there, she know when you see that little thing, that's the stage crew right there in the chat. Okay. That they all gonna say they didn't vote for him. Everybody gonna say, I didn't pick him. Somebody picked that fool. Okay. And so he was terrible. There all the things you could think of, the red pill being, he was super excited to get me as his date when it happened, like when we got matched. And you can actually go on my Instagram and watch a little clip of like us getting matched and all that stuff. But when we got on the dates, he did that thing I'm telling you about. Like he went to my Instagram, he looked and was like, oh, this is the type, she this kind of chick. Independent, strong Black woman, right? That's what he got, and was like treating me like he was just being real. He was being an a-hole, basically. So it was terrible. And it didn't go well. He ended up basically going off on me off camera on a FaceTime call, saying that like I make $1 million a year. Like I'm used to women throwing themselves at me because of my looks and all this and that, and you not doing that. And I'm like, yeah, I will not, and I won't, and I shall not tell her. You know, like you got the wrong one. So it was just the whole thing. He ended up not showing. So we were going to go to LA. You're supposed to go to LA to meet in person, have a real in-person date, and then decide whether you're going to continue to date the person. That was the only time we were going to see each other in person. He didn't show up to LA. He missed the flight and said he had COVID, but he was in Florida somewhere doing something. Anyway, whole thing happened. And so everybody kept going, like, Aries need to do over, Aries need to do over. She need her own show. She need to do her, you know, like people were just like not happy with the results. And I did not cuss him out because I learned that he had the narc trait. The way he was, I was, now I'm educated on this. Now I get it. So I was like, oh, he's trying to get me to react to him. Saying all the crazy stuff he was saying, I was like, oh, he's trying to get me to, he wants me to give him some emotion because I'm just like nonchalant about it. And I didn't do that. So that really got to him. But anywho, so that's what got me kind of in this space of like the reality TV conversation. So when the Ready to Love casting stuff went out, some of the same they freelance casting directors and stuff. And a lot of them some of them worked on the other show too. Like they work on different shows and stuff. So like a bunch of people sent me the casting thing for Ready to Love when they saw it was in Dallas. And I was just like, it was like, you need to go on there. You need to go on there. Like, heck of people send it to me. And I'm just like, I don't know. But I was just like, okay, if I apply and I get through, then okay. Like if I get through all, because this is way bigger platform, way more people gonna be applying to this. If I get through this, then I'm gonna know, okay, this is something you're supposed to be doing, you know? Like I'm a risk taker like that. So I just went ahead and yeah, that second date was crazy. He was real crazy on the second date. So that's what happened. And I went through the whole thing. And when I met the first casting director, the lady who like runs that group, she was just like, I've done this for a very long time. I'm just gonna let you know. I can't tell you you're gonna be on the show, but you more than likely gonna be on the show. Like I could just tell from your personality and stuff. So I was like, okay. But it was a lot of months of process. So that's how I ended up on there. It was just kind of like, let me just see, you know, even though like I know the odds are not necessarily in my favor, but I'm like, all you need is one. You got a Clifton and a Joy. You gotta, you know, like you just need one. So let's just see. If not, then oh well. You know, it's a big deal. And so that's how I ended up just applying and seeing. I was like, hopefully it's just a couple cute guys I can at least flirt with, you know, and see what's up.
Oh, okay. So you already had some experience. Obviously, I do remember actually the Love on the Stage. I do remember that the app when it came out too as well. So I didn't even realize it was you. So that's a crazy thing. You know what I mean? You know the ones where you see but you don't realize. Okay, so now you come on to Ready to Love, right? You've watched the show, so you're Ready to Love, right?
Yeah.
You get into the first kind of open mixer. You know, I want to know who, when you saw them, you said, my, oh my, what a fine boy you are.
Oh, Lord. So, walking into the mansion, Chris, Phil, and Jessica were there. I was the fourth person in the house. So, I saw Chris and immediately recognized him because I've seen him. I've been around him before. I didn't know him. I knew of him. I've been around him. I knew he was cute, and I every time I would see him, I'd be like, "Oh, he's cute." You know, we would like flirt a little bit, but we never really like talked like that. So I was like, "Cool, somebody I know I can flirt with. Like, I'll see what he's talking about." And then Phil was cool. But if you're talking about like people that I was just like, "Ooh, they're cute." Like
when you first see them, you're like, "Come on, just you know."
Brandon.
Brandon's got a few in these. Brandon's tall and handsome, isn't he?
Brandon is fine. But something about him, I was like, I don't know. So he seemed like he was just too cute to me. I was like, something's up with him. Quentin was the last guy to come into the mixer. I knew Herbert already. Prior to the show. Like I know Herbert real good. Like we've been on each other for years. Quentin was the last guy to come in, so I didn't really get to meet him at first, and then eventually the producers actually had us go sit and talk at after Tommy had already came and was like, "Hey y'all, somebody going home," you know, like it was all that he already did that, and then I'm like, I walked past him, I was like, we haven't talked. He was like, we don't talk like that, and then they were like, "Hey y'all, like y'all come over here and talk," and then me and Quentin talked. So like by the time the mixer was over, I felt like, okay, Chris and Quentin are those are going to be my two people that I'm going to be dealing with. Phil had an asterisk. I kept saying that during
an asterisk
because I wasn't getting
risk.
I wasn't getting flirty vibes from him. We had
okay,
but I was like, I don't know, is he interested? Like I can't really tell. He didn't give me that. He didn't give me no look. You know what I'm saying? So
don't put too much pressure.
Yeah, Brandon got sent home. So I was not happy about the Brandon going home situation.
Nobody was. I don't think anybody was, to be honest.
I was pissed. Because I definitely was like vouching for him during the deliberation, you know, like when they had us in the little groups. I'm like, over Habibi? No. Brandon is a thing, okay? I'm sorry, because Habibi was acting the damn fool the whole day. Like he was acting up all day. I avoided him like the plague all day because he was just I was like, he's that type of dude that gonna say something. He gonna say something. Like he was just very, you know. So I just knew he was going home. I knew it. I was confident during the
do the mix and everything.
He's gone. He's a goner. And he was not gone. I was like, what the hell is this process? Because there's no way.
Now you realized.
Yeah, I said, oh, this is about to be a hot mess. I could tell already. But when the night was over, I was sitting on the couch. I have videos of me and Quentin and Chris sitting on the couch. I was like, my connections, you know, whatever. And Habibi came over because he was trying to get my number a couple times during the day, and I act like I didn't hear him. I was just like, somebody call my name.
You need me? You need me? Oh, they calling me to set, so I got to go.
He's cool. Like now, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like he'll be gonna Habibi. Like that's just who he is. You're like it's just what you understand what you're dealing with, so you know how to like, you know, maneuver with him. But at that point, I was like, nah, I can't do this. And he came right while I'm sitting between Quentin and Chris and was like, with his phone, like, give me your number. Like, give me your number. And I was like, I said, no, thank you. I'm good. I have all the numbers that I want to have for the evening. Thank you. Just like that. And then he was just like, damn. And
what was Habibi's behavior? What was Habibi's behavior specifically that you were like, ooh?
He was just not following the rules. Like there's some things I would not say on camera just because, you know, there might be some legal repercussions about the stuff he was doing. But just like, you know, every direction they were giving us, he was just like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like he wasn't respecting the stuff. Like they'll be like, everybody be quiet, we need to do this thing. Like and he'd be like saying stuff, you know, like, yeah, like he's still gonna talk, you know, he's still gonna say his little thing. So, you know, when it came out about the stuff that they supposedly he said to Janelle, I was like, I believe her. I
I mean,
believe
he's some, yeah, stuff on the show. We saw some stuff on the show that was a bit much.
Yeah, I was like, I believe it. So it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like he was cussing nobody out or being like mean or anything. It was just like, okay, you got that type of you're inappropriate, you know. So I could believe something like that. But yeah, it wasn't until I was actually walking out of the mansion that Phil stopped me. Like I sat at the table with him and MAURIER because we were just kind of getting some food on the way out. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna be asking them, I'm gonna try to get some dates with you. And I was like, you are? I was like, really? I didn't know. You know, he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay. All righty then. But he didn't get my number. He didn't get my number or nothing that night. So I was like, well, we're gonna see what happens because hey, you still didn't get my number, but okay. So that was it. At that point, it was like I did get MAURIER got my number. I had Brandon's number. I mean, it was a lot of guys getting numbers, you know what I mean? But I still was just like, well, that's fine. They can get my number because, you know, I want to talk to everybody and be cool, you know, whatever. But like, I'll figure out, you know, I know who the two guys that I'm going to be talking to is going to be Quentin and Chris. That was like my main ones.
So, okay, so you mentioned obviously MAURIER. Did you have much of a connection with MAURIER after the mixer then?
I didn't more conversation? Like he got my, like again, so like at the end of the night, I had a bunch of dudes that had texted me. And so it's just numbers. Like I don't have their names saved or none of that yet. And I had kind of, me and MAURIER kept trying to connect. Again, he was like the second to last dude that came. So like we were passing each other and it was like, we kept saying like, we ain't gonna get the chance to talk today. Like we just not gonna talk. So he got my number, but then we didn't leave there. I didn't get home till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like we lost an hour. It was spring forward, the daylight savings. So by the time I got home, it's 3 a.m. And our call was like 10 a.m. So like, I need to go to bed. Like I'm done. I'll figure out these numbers tomorrow. Like at some point, I'll figure out whose numbers I got and all that. So when the next day happened, you know, people started texting because we had the day off the next day. Actually, Tequila was the first woman who got my number that night. I didn't have any other woman's number. I didn't know nobody. My game plan going in was I'm not trying to be cool with these women like that. I'll be cordial.
Makes it complicated.
Yeah, but I don't know what the situation is, so I don't want to be like be a homegirl and then they be feeling like I like they do. You know, like ain't no loyalty up in here right now. I don't know nobody, you know. But she was really cool and she was like, she got my number. So I was like, okay. The next day she called that next morning and was just like, hey, how did you feel like everything went? You know, I know that from watching the show and being a fan that typically if you're at the bottom, that's stressful for the person who was at the bottom. You know, that first bottom. You know, it's like, you don't want to go in being like, why am I in the bottom? You know, like that at the brunch and stuff like that. Like usually that don't go over well. So I was just kind of like, okay, I understand her checking in. And she asked me, did I have MAURIER's number? And I said, I might have it, but I don't. I know that I got his number. I mean, I know that he got my number, but I haven't looked through all the numbers yet. So, but I also am the type of chick that I'm like, well, like you don't want to be calling him, you know, like, cause don't be calling these dudes, you know, that's just my words coming out, right? Like, you gonna call, like, let them call you, you know, kind of thing. But I also was just kind of like, I said I might have this number, but I also am the type of person where I don't be giving people's numbers out. So I'd rather tell you that somebody wants your number and let you do all that. I don't want to be the middleman in none of this. You know what I'm saying? So I let MAURIER know when I went through everything and saw his number. I was like, hey, by the way, Tequila asked for your number. Like, go deal with that, you know, whatever. And then I started putting names to numbers and stuff like that. And a lot of the guys were calling me, so I was just talking to everybody. I was talking to everybody every day. Marvin, all of them.
So okay, so obviously the conversation's going on. You guys are talking, texting, all that kind of stuff. Who took an early lead in the connections with you from the early settings?
MAURIER.
Wow. Okay.
Now he was
MAURIER's not working.
MAURIER was talking. He had a lot of time on his hands. But I wasn't like, he wasn't the lead as far as what I would say was my connection. Like he made me his connection early. Like I didn't realize that he was feeling me like that until he just was like, I'm letting you know right now. Like
How you don't know, Aries?
Because I'm talking to everybody. I'm literally saying I'm talking to Marvin, I'm talking to him. I pretty much talked to all the guys except for Red, Habibi, Red, and in the beginning Phil, because we didn't have each other's numbers. But everybody else was called. Marvin and Maurier had the most time of all the guys. I was like, y'all, because everybody, you talking to everybody. But I'll say that he was like communicating the most, and then Chris was probably the second one, and then Quentin was in there, but it was kind of like he go to bed at like 9 o'clock, so it's like you only got so much time to talk with him. And then I'm trying to think who else was even there. Who are the other guys? Are there any other guys I'm not thinking about? Yeah, that was it. I mean, so that was it at first, until Phil eventually got my number, which was like 2 days later after the brunch.
So, it seems like, wait. How do you not know that Maurier is feeling you? How do you not know that a guy that is texting you consistently?
It's not that I don't know that he's feeling me, but I wasn't feeling him like he was feeling me.
Okay.
Like,
so you knew he was feeling you, but you weren't feeling him the same way.
He's talking to me like just being cool. He's a cool person to talk to.
Fair enough.
He's very easy to talk to, very like funny. We're laughing at the same jokes. Like me, him, Phil, and Quentin had the same sense of humor. Like we were laughing. We all got the jokes. You got them people that we like. You just say the line and we get it. Like Martin and all that. Like we all were on the same page when it came to the jokes. So it's like you could just do a one-liner and we get it. Like that's the kind of thing it was. So like if we all were together, it was just chaos. But me and Chris were kind of lazy with it because we felt like familiar with each other a little bit. So we like, let's go see what everybody else is talking about, kind of thing. But Maurier, eventually, it didn't take long for him to let me know, like, oh yeah, like I'm feeling you. I'm trying to get some, like he put it out there very soon after that. But at the initial state, we hadn't, those first couple days, we hadn't really like, it wasn't that yet because everybody just getting numbers trying to just see what's up.
Talk and see.
Yeah.
So once he let you know, did it now make you feel like, oh, okay, well, maybe make this, try and see make this work? Because you like persistence over consistency. Y'all ladies tell us all the time, you want persistence over consistency. Do you know what persistence really means?
Persistently persistent.
No, when someone's persistent, they are a pest. You never want persistence.
Don't be no pest. I don't like that.
Well, if you're persistent, the reason why someone's persistent is because you didn't want it in the first place. Consistency is when you want it.
I guess so. Whatever you want.
But anyway, so he was persistent. So I guess it didn't turn out the way he wanted.
One-on-one date was with Maurier.
Okay, how was that day? Did it not send no sparks? Did it not get you a little tingly?
No.
Tingly. Yeah, because the wings would have been touching the lips, make you,
He didn't cook the wings on the first day. If he did, that would have been like.
Oh, okay. Maybe he would have. Okay, maybe he missed out. He should have cooked the wings.
No, he didn't cook no wings. But we had a paint date. I think that was the first one. I feel like
paint date.
We had a couple days, but he was the first date that I had, which I was just like, okay, like, no, yeah, I think he was the first one-on-one date that I had. So it was cool. We, it was a cool date, but it felt very friend
zony. Okay.
Friend
zone. It wasn't an immediate attraction. That's fair.
Yeah.
So people might ask, obviously, that you knew Herbert and a few other people knew Herbert as well. So clearly he's well connected. Why was that not maybe explored a bit more? If we didn't see it, so maybe it was. But why was that not fleshed out? Why was that not explored a bit more to kind of see maybe this could be something for us to go forward with?
Because I've been knowing Herbert for 10+ years. I feel like if we was gonna do that, we would have been done it. Like it was always been the friend zone. Like we've never ever. And again, I know a lot of people. His ex, who he brought on the show, if you go look at my page, I got pictures with her. Like I know it's too much mixing and mingling in Dallas. We didn't. It's too much crossing paths of friends and connections and stuff like that.
It's too close, basically.
Yeah, and I don't want no more kids. So I know
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Maurier's chalked off, Herbert's chalked off. You've mentioned obviously
Mario's still there. He ain't going nowhere. Mario wasn't going.
I mean, of course he's not. He's persistent. So, but you know, it's chalked off because you ain't feeling that.
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah, you're not feeling that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he definitely said you had a connection because I remember on one of the conversations. I think it might have been the Chris one. He mentioned your name as, you know, a connection that he had.
Like, get my name out of here. I don't want to be.
I was like, clearly Aries didn't tell us this. She didn't tell us all the story because he had a connection with Aries. I was like, okay, well, didn't know that. You know,
yeah.
New to me.
So then I had the date at my house, the group date with Chris and Quentin and Herbert and Jessica and Sierra, which Quentin and I, he's 10 years younger than me. So that realistically, that wasn't an ideal connection.
It started so well.
But physically,
it started so well.
Yeah, because I'm like, we had chemistry. Like it was very
I saw
easy. Very, very easy. Like from the first day. Like he was super like at the mixer. We had when we did talk, we ended up going over where Chris and Jessica were playing cornhole with Phil and Kira, and then they lost. So me and Quentin played against Chris and Jessica, and we won. And then like it's the Aries energy. Like we just vibe. So that was super easy to flirt, you know, with him. And then it's kind of like, you know, after a little while, you're kind of like, oh, okay, realistically, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Like we could flirt, but it don't really make sense later.
Because of the no kid situation?
And I'm firm on that. It ain't nothing to talk about.
So did you maybe discuss adopting? Because, you know, he discussed
that as well. I don't want I don't want nothing. I don't want none. I don't want to adopt. I don't want nothing. If I'm adopted, they need to be old. They already old. Older than my kids. Okay. I'm cool.
That's fair.
I don't want to be bothered. I usually don't even date kids younger than mine. So like me even talking to like Marie's son is like 7. I think he might have just turned 8. And Phil's son is like 6. So I was like, woo, it's a little younger than I prefer, you know. But let's see. Kristen's daughter is the same age as my youngest son. So I was like, okay, we're on the same page. Like that could be good because, you know. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Quentin's not out picture too because obviously the whole situation with the kids. All right, so that leaves you with Chris and obviously Phil situation because I don't think there's anyone else after that who could have connected with. Is that's it? Chris and Phil.
Yeah, that was it.
At this point,
he texted me after the brunch. But as y'all saw, even on the show, it was the 5th episode before me and him ever got a date. So it was a lot of like just the hoedown was the first time we saw each other.
Oh wait, so that's how you saw each other in person. How come?
Because we never had no dates, and like if you watch the show, like he had group dates with people, and he was going out to Quilla, Sierra, and all these other Kira and all them. I never saw him until the hoedown. After that brunch. It was like the hoedown was the next time I saw him. So we were like all giddy and excited, like, oh, I get to see you. Like, anything going on. We just been texting and calling each other and stuff like that. So the process for us was actually, it wasn't as much time as everybody. It was like 2 weeks after the initial thing. You know, like by the time we had that first day, it was 2.5 weeks. The process is almost halfway done. Like, so we had to kind of catch up more. And we had another date that they didn't show as well, but yeah, so that's it was kind of messed up. I was like, y'all got me. I said at the point, I'm like, okay, y'all, like put me on the dates with people that I have the connections. Like I need to be getting in front of these people, you know. So that was kind of how that
So
works.
what was it about? What was it about Kristen? Because obviously you didn't know each other deeply, but you had been aware of each other because you had crossed paths
Yeah,
beforehand as
like
well. So
mutual friends.
and a lot of mutual friends. So tell us about this connection then with Chris, because obviously I know that you said obviously he's one of the good looking ones that you mentioned about when you first saw him. But what was the connection like with Chris as well? What was drawing you two together? What was the connection like?
We had similar philosophies like on life, and we talked about our kids. Like I learned more about him and his daughter's relationship, and just like the family situation, and so it was just we just had similar kind of core values, I guess I would say. And obviously we're physically attracted to each other, so that was not hard at all. So yeah, I mean that was the main thing. It was like, okay, like you saying the right stuff, and you're cute and you smell good. So yeah, that's always gonna get you far. You know?
Mm. I mean, yeah. I mean, it will get you somewhere. I don't know how far it's gonna get you when they talk about long term, though. Did
I
you see a
mean,
lot? Did you
you gotta
see?
start somewhere.
Okay, so did you see a real like maybe this could go further than the show, or did we just see it like what it's good for now, but maybe we have to revisit this a little bit later on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that we were again. It's like even though I was familiar, I was still I was learning him, kind of understanding how he moves, what you got going on. We're in, the show. What it does is it puts you in scenarios, right, so that you can see how they respond, how they react. Like you need to see the full picture in a very short amount of time. So it's like if this was not ready to love and this was the real world and we have sat and talked and got whatever, you have more time in between to kind of, okay, then we're gonna go on this date and then we're gonna go out and then we're gonna be at this thing, like. But on the show they're like, okay, so like we're gonna put y'all in these scenarios, okay, like y'all need to be talking about this and like so it kind of forces you in these spaces. Like I didn't know about his mom and dad and like the stories behind that and all that. And so it was just like a lot of just a bunch of new information that's like hitting you super quick. So it's like you kind of like, let me see how you move on this, stuff like that. So I definitely was like, okay, what he's saying so far, I wasn't seeing nothing crazy. So I was like, okay, like this is good. And he was calling, we're talking on the phone, and stuff like that. So I was I was on board. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm liking this. This is good. And then obviously as I'm connecting with Phil too, Phil is new, like way newer, right? So it's like, okay, I'm giving him a little bit more attention because also he's new, right? So it's like when Chris would call, we'd be like, yeah, like we had more familiarity. It felt more comfortable. And then when I
Mm.
would talk to Phil, it was kind of like, okay, I'm discovering. So like I'm discovering from him. I'm discovering from both, but also it's like I kind of like felt like I say we got lazy because it was like I can get Chris, like I can connect him, like I can get connected to him because again we're right, this is someone that's like right there, so like I could easily like fall back with him,
Mm.
at this point. This is someone new, um, so you know that's how that was with us.
Hmm. And so obviously, I want to know how this. Did you? Okay, the date where he came round, and shared his heart. He really did share his heart, and share his heart about his mother, and it was a very moving, emotional scene. But did that draw you two together in terms of romance? Yes, a friendship was built, and yes, I'm sure the friendship strengthened. Yes, I'm sure the foundations gathered more glue. But did the romance bone in you? Did it begin to tingle? That's the question we have to ask.
It
Did you
actually
begin to
did.
tingle?
It actually did.
Okay,
Okay, so
okay.
the thing about it was the mom thing, right? I know
Hmm.
everybody be talking about my little leg pat, but I'm fresh off of my dad passing.
Mm.
So I already am like, okay, dude, don't get too deep on the parental death because I'm not trying to cry on TV.
I
If I'm
understand.
all the way honest with y'all. Like, I was like, everything's okay. Like, don't go there, bro. Like, I'm not trying to do that. And on the exclusive, you'll hear me talk about my dad. They didn't show it, but then it was the second part of the date where I kind of was like, and when he was doing it, I'm like, I was tearing up, but I'm also like, it's okay. Like, don't, like, I also didn't want to do too much. Like, when you don't know someone, you know how, like, if someone is on the verge of tears or they're, like, if you go hug them or cry to them, now they're going to, like, cry for real or, like, cry, like, harder or whatever. So I'm also like, I need to try to, like, I'm trying to be understanding, but I'm also like, I don't want to cry and I don't want you to cry more. Like, everything's okay, woo, 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 kind of thing. So it was just a little like, but the part like with the chef and the flowers and, we had mimosas and, the whole nine, and he gave me a gift, like after that, and all the stuff that he was, doing for me. I was just like, dang, like he pulled up stops. He didn't have to do that. That wasn't production.
That's true.
That's one thing I say about Chris. He wasn't like relying on production to do everything for him. Like he like, I'm about to do this. That was how he felt, So that to me was like, okay, like he really went all up for me specifically. He knew I was his date. Like one thing I will say, I knew my date. I knew who I was going on dates with. Like I'll be texting all my people that I'm like, what time is your date today? Where your date at?
You work it out.
I'm asking. So he, when I was like, I saw his city on my location. They're like, it's a house date. And I'm like, ooh, I know who live out there. That's going to be him. And so I text him like, that's us. We are. And so he was like, I'm so excited, and did all this stuff. So it was like a whole thing. Like when I got to his house and we ended up having to take a shot in between. He was all nervous and stuff. Like when we had to change the camera from the table of us eating to sitting on the couch, we had to like stop for a second to do that. And then I'm like, take a shot. Like you need to take a shot. Cause he was just like, all, giddy and like nervous. I'm like, okay, to be nervous on this day with me, So it was a good time. I was happy. And it's funny because like, I never told my other connections what was going on my other date. So like I didn't tell Phil like, oh yeah, I had this date with Chris in his house. I wasn't saying that. But in my mind, I'm like, when they get to that gentleman's lounge, I bet
they gonna talk.
Yeah, I used to like that though. I'm like, yeah, talk about it. Talk about it. So then the other person would be like, oh, I'm gonna step my game up, Let's get the competition going. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Hey, I'm not mad at it. Play the game, baby. I'm not mad at that. Okay, so all right, so then obviously knowing what we know now. Knowing the history that you have. When Chris is not speaking up, how does this play into attraction for you? Because he's doing the very thing we just discussed about the post.
Oh, with the combative situation? Oh, he'll tell you. I went off on him, Phil, and Maria.
Oh, but let's stick to Chris first.
I was not happy.
We're gonna go to them, but let's stick with Chris first. I just want to flesh it out.
I was not happy at all.
You was not happy? Okay. Tell us why you was not happy.
Oh, because, well, first of all, it was a whole controversy on who said what and all that. It was so much bigger. Like, it was so much more than what they even showed y'all. Even though that moment was like them sitting down doing the whole, I didn't like the whole, who said it? That was pissing me off. Like, I'm sitting there like, Lord, I want to end this, but I know it's going to be a fight. Like, just the same way I realized that the guys felt afterward, like, to speak up in this moment is to combat, is to have a combative situation. You are setting yourself up for a fight at this point. But I'm like, so there's a scene they did not show of me and Chris after that, where I'm like, did you say it? Like I had a moment with him. He probably had it with everybody. Me, Lee, and all that. But I'm like, I assumed that he said it from the beginning. I assumed that was where it came from, as well as everybody. And so the whole asking people, did they say, what are you doing? We all know who you've had combative situations with. So the fact that you're doing this is you trying to play games right now. Like y'all are trying to set people up for, you know what I'm saying? So he had said, he said, you know what? It's not even worth talking about because we already know how people act in different situations. That's what he said that at that moment when they asked, did you say? He's like, we don't even need to talk about it because we already know how people act in different situations. He was really saying, we know how y'all act when, like, that's what he was saying about them. Like, we already know how different people act in different situations. So, but I still felt like you need to stand 10 toes down. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a 10 toes down type of person. So I kind of came for him later. I think after we talked about it, and I was like, did you say? He said, I did not say specifically that, right?
Yes, he didn't, yeah.
That she was combative. Like, it was all the semantics, right?
And it was semantics.
It was semantics, right? Around combative situations and you're combative, you know, type of thing. It was so stupid to me, but whatever. It's like, but you are combative, though. Which is funny because all the women, nobody fought against it because we were like, it's about right.
You know it to be the truth. Yep.
You know? So it was all this like I felt automatically like, well, when I did talk to Chris right after that, we were playing Connect 4 outside. And I was like, so like, I know you said this, you know, right? He was like, but I didn't actually say that. Like the verbiage was Maurier's verbiage, right? And I did confirm with other people. I asked, who said the words, you know, and other people said that those not Chris in the chat. Other people was like, those words came out of that other man's mouth on his own. That was not the verbiage that was used to describe what they were going to say about the situation.
What do you mean that was not the verbiage they were going to say about the situation?
Like, there, we saw the clip of Chris saying, you know, we've had some combative situations that they kept showing. It's right. But the verbiage to be used publicly to address the group was not. A lot of the guys feel you're combative. That was not what they all agreed to say.
Okay.
So
the guys basically are saying the guys never said she was combative.
She's combative. That was not the agreed upon dialogue. But we know from the screenshots that production told him to say combative, and he still like to say combative. However, he knew that she did not like the word combative prior to this happening. And he said that to us. Like, I knew she didn't like that word. He was beating himself up right afterwards. Like, I knew she didn't like that word. I shouldn't have said the word. Like, he was saying that himself in front of all of us, you know? So it was like, how did you know she didn't like the word? Did y'all talk about this word before? Why would y'all have been talking about the word combative before? Why?
How would you know it's a trigger if you?
How do you know that's the word she doesn't like? Just out of nowhere.
That's a good one.
Was it because you were telling somebody that somebody else was saying y'all had combative situations? I don't know. Maybe that's a theory.
That's a point. Let's just reload that. That's a great point. I didn't even think of it. All the time I've heard that, I ain't thought about it. How would you even have a conversation and know that's a trigger for her unless you've already had a conversation about it?
You had a conversation because you said, I mean, he was beating himself up like, I knew she didn't like that word. And I'm thinking, how you know she didn't like why was that a conversation y'all were having before about like, I don't like the word combative? That's a random word to be saying out of nowhere. So that's how the theory got out there that like, maybe y'all been talking about the words that have been being used in the gentleman's lounge to other people, you know?
So obviously, I mean, you know.
But I did go off a little bit. I felt some type of way because I'm the type like, why are you scared? Y'all scared of them? Again, I said Phil was the first one that got hit by that with me because
what did he get hit with? What did he get? Why did he get hit?
You're the first one saying I didn't say it. If you wouldn't have said I didn't say it, y'all could have all uniformly said, we're not about to talk about what was being said in the gentleman's lounge. We don't do that. It was a unanimous decision. If you feel like you know who said that, or you know who you've had combative situations with, then address that person. But we're not about to sit here and put everybody under the gun. That's what I would have wanted to hear. But I feel like because Phil went immediately like, I don't feel this way. I was like, me, bro, like, hush, you know, in that moment, which I did address him, Maria, and Chris at the end of the night when all the cameras were gone and we all talked. I was like, why? Like, what the heck? Because I didn't like the fact that the dudes looked like they were scared of these chicks.
It did look like that.
I didn't like that. That's not sexy.
That's right.
It's not attractive. It was a big turnoff. So, to me personally, because you know how I gave you my history.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
10 toes down.
I'm gonna need you to check these chicks. You know what I mean? And in my mind right now, I'm not y'all. None of y'all are minding dudes. Now, if you were, I would have said something. Because I'd be like, babe, you don't need to talk. You don't need to answer this. We're not doing that. Now, that's the type of person I am in real life. But I'm like, ain't none of them my dudes. So, y'all like, yeah.
Okay.
You know? So.
That's fair. So where did the well, where did it go if it did? Because obviously Chris was obviously off later on. Where did this connection go to with Kristen? So did it end? Did it continue after the show? Like where did that connection with you and Chris get to? Where did it mature to?
We got cool. We stayed cool. We're cool right now. I mean, as you obviously know, we're still cool to this day. So it was not. I wasn't happy that he got voted off. I feel like that was a setup. It definitely was a setup to vote him off. A very clear and obvious setup. The day that we were going to do deliberations after that, which we knew. I'm like, this combative thing is about to be the whole
trending topic.
Yeah, we like, this is what we're gonna use because it was between Chris and Maria. And if Chris stayed, Jessica knew she was going home next because she didn't have no connections. So, and she actually, so I had to friend zone Maria on camera at one point. Was it prior to this? This was prior to the house, actually. And because I had already friend zoned Maurier, and he was like, don't care about no friend zone.
I'm persistent.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. So I had to friend zone him. It was after when we had the friend date. The friend dates. I immediately had to get dressed and go on a date with Maria. They didn't show none of these, but because they was like, we got to wrap the storyline up of you and Maria because I had already friend zoned him. I moved on, you know, I'm like, we moved on. But I friend zoned him on camera. It was like, you know, I'm focusing on Chris and Phil. So like, hopefully we can stay cool, you know, And he was just like, well, if either one of them messes up, I'm here. Ready to step in at any point. And I'm like, Maria, like literally. So you'll see on the lounge, one of the lounges where Jessica was saying how Chris didn't have good direct answers about her during her friend date. And I said, I had put Maria in the bottom and I was like, Maria is in the friend zone and he don't care, he in the friend zone. That was my line for Maria on that lounge. Because he basically was like, I don't care. If Phil mess up, I'm in. If Chris mess up, put me in. You know, like, I don't care what you're talking about. So what happened was I was leaving that date with him from friend zoning him. Jessica called me on the phone and was like,
Jessica called you?
Yeah, which I never talked to her on the phone before this. She called me. We had a group chat. Now, all the girls had a group chat where we kind of just stayed. It was like a cordial group chat between me, Jessica, Janelle, Sierra, Lee, and Kat all together. And So we were being cool. It wasn't like we were all buddy, but it was like, hey, who has a date tonight or whatever. We want to find out like who going on dates tonight to see if somebody going home or stuff like that or whatever. Well, this person, she had called my phone direct. And I'm like, what's she gonna be about? You know, like, what's this gonna be about? And she was basically just like, so trying to find out if I'm actually connected to Chris or something. Like, what's up with you and Chris kind of thing. Like, are you really trying to talk to him? Because like him and her were done before the friend date, but now it's like officially because after the friend date it was terrible, right? So she's like asking me to put Maria in my top and she'll put Phil in her top so that, you know, they could be safe, basically. And I was like, I'm literally leaving a date putting Maria in my friend zone. So number one, he's not in my top. He hasn't been in my top, and I'm not putting him in my top. And I was like, and if Phil ain't made the right connections, that's on him. But inside, I knew like Phil ain't going nowhere because me and him are like the most genuine thing the show has going right now. They're not about to send Phil nowhere. But I wouldn't go tell her that because I didn't want to be, you know what I'm saying? Put my confidence out there, you know what I'm saying? To where I felt like Phil ain't going no damn where. But I ain't about to tell you that because I don't know what y'all got going on over there, you know? So she was trying to get me to put him in my top and stuff. So what happened was that next lounge, she actually put Phil in her top. But see, she was thinking about herself. It wasn't about like, oh, I'm going to do this for you. No, you know that if Chris leaves, then you're going to be safer because Maurier's going to pick whoever picks him, basically, at this point. So I still didn't put Maurier in my top at that point. But what got me was like, after she put Phil in her top, and I'm like, yeah, you trying to make it seem like you got somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Which Phil ain't even a connection of yours. But when we got down to the dressing room after that, she came by and was like, you see what I did? Like, I hope you see what I did. Like, I owe her a favor. I said, I owe you. Like, you ain't done nothing for me. Like, you ain't done nothing for me. Don't make it, you know, I don't owe nobody nothing. I've been cool, cordial, and neutral this whole time. I ain't had no beef. I ain't crossed no paths with Janelle. I ain't crossed no paths with her. None of that. I ain't got no issues. So to try to make it seem like you did something for me by putting Phil in the top. Phil wasn't going nowhere, no way. If I really wanted to keep it 1,000, you know what I'm saying? I felt confident in the fact that Phil wasn't going nowhere because I'm like, me and Phil, of all of y'all, ain't nobody else got no real stuff happening. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. And then it was this whole thing about once we got to that house, it was like, it's either Chris or Maria. Those are the main people that don't have, like for Jessica, you don't have anybody else. You only have Phil and Maria. So it was like, we know you and, not Phil, Chris and Maria. So if you only got Chris, and you know that if Chris ain't feeling you, you're out of here next week, you know, when the guys are in power. So it was very clear to Maria and Jessica that y'all better stick together or else both of y'all gonna be gone in a minute if you don't do this. So when he said combative, I was just like, ooh, y'all see my face like during the thing because I'm like, you said that? That's your connection. Like they tell you a whole bunch of stuff. They'll remind you of things to say because, like, let's say you forgot everything that happened in the lounge or whatever. You're like, what they say? You know, whatever. Like, what was the stuff I'm supposed to be saying to the person? They'll tell you, and you can formulate your own words to say the information. So the fact that, like, that's why I said he didn't have to say that. You don't have to say the word combative. Like you, and then out of your mouth, you said to all of us, it was not just me who heard him say that. Like multiple people heard him say it. You said she does not like that. I know she didn't like that word. I'm like, so why did you say it? Like y'all have clearly had a conversation about it. So why the hell did you say it? So that was my whole thing with it. I've asked him multiple times after that, like, did you like why you like you said it, huh? Like that was your work, you know, whatever. He was just like, I know it wasn't me, it wasn't me. But I feel like the semantics of it all started getting all mixed up, and people was like, no, because he felt it. He's the one that felt that way. That's really what it was, I think. And it was like, but still, like you didn't have to say it. She wouldn't have known what he felt if you hadn't been telling her. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff. But what we weren't saying was she was the one tearing his ass down in the lounges every week. Y'all saw a little bit of it, but literally every week she was eating Chris alive. We weren't even telling Chris what was being said. She was eating him up every week.
What do you mean she was eating him up every week?
About their connect, like how she did in that lounge when she came for Lee and was like, he's unnecessary. Da, 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 da. It was getting progressively worse every time we had a lounge where it was like,
oh,
you have to say something negative because it was their connection wasn't what I got on Chris about during the show was like, you need to be clear when you are breaking off, like how I put friend zone MAURIER, me and Quentin ended our connection together. You needed to say you were ending this connection with her because what happened was I feel like he was trying to be nice, but not really ending it all the way. And so like when he got put on, he was telling production he don't want to go on no dates with her. But then he get put on these dates and be like, you know, like trying to be like, well, you know, she's a businesswoman, say this stuff, but you really ain't feeling her no more. You need to be clear. I'm like, clarity is key. Women need clarity. Say what you feel. If you don't want the connection no more, end it. So that's why she felt like she was doing something by ending it with him. She's like, I'm gonna let him love all the ladies. You're like, he been off of you for a long time, but you want to feel like you're the one that ended the connection or whatever, because that's the L. You know, like ain't nobody trying to take no L on TV. So
wow,
yeah, it was a lot of little stuff to where I'm telling Chris like, be clear, because I'm in here listening to this stuff in the lounge. I'm trying to be respectful of the process too by not telling him what's happening, but I'm like, are you being clear with all your connections? The same thing with Marvin. When Marvin was in the process, there was a point when him and Red were when he was at the bottom with Red at the hoedown, and he was feeling. I was like, "Are you good?" Like I messaged him and stuff. He was like, "Yeah, you know." I said, "You just need to be yourself. Like if your woman is here, she gonna feel you. If she ain't, she ain't. Be yourself. Don't be feeling like you need to be something different for different people. Like I'm big on that. Like be clear, be who you are. Do not be trying to hide, you know that." And so I felt that was probably Chris's biggest downfall in the process was just not being like, look, Jessica. And he said he had a conversation with her, but I still feel like he probably was just being like, still not probably smiling the whole time and not really like being all the way clear. I don't know exactly what he said, but I feel like there's a part where you have to just kind of be like, look.
So what were the kind of things Jessica was saying about Chris?
And Janelle.
Oh, Janelle was involved too, but what Janelle wasn't dating Chris. She didn't date Chris.
But she always had something to say about him. It's to tag along with whatever Jessica was saying.
So she was doing double team.
I look at him like a little brother, like a little boy. He's not really like, you know. She said
what Jessica saying.
No, Janelle was saying that. She was saying that he basically, you know, he told a story, like I heard him say it afterward about how he said to her, I guess, that she wanted a connection with him. And he told her, well, I'm talking to your friend. This is your friend in real life.
Yes, he did say that. He said, yeah.
Well, with the way she told it in the lounge, which is funny because I didn't hear it from him until afterward. And I was like, oh my God.
There was that. It got mentioned in the lounge.
Because in the lounge, she said he told her, like he was trying, like as if he told her, you know, hey, I'm talking to your friend. And she said, she was like, okay. And you're telling me this because why? We ain't got no connection. Why are you telling me? Kind of thing. She made like, he's telling me that I, you know, he want to date my friend, but why are you telling me that? We ain't got no connection. So it was like, okay. But then when he told the story, he was like, no, she was still like, no, it's cool. We're part of like she wanted the connection, but she was telling the story very different in the lounge than what was in the what was happening in real life. So when he did share it, because he don't know what's going on in the lounge. Again, after he tells me what was being said, I was like, you're lying. I said, you're lying. I was like, you are absolutely lying to me because That's not how she said it. That is not. She said exactly that you told her you was connected to Jessica, and she was like, "Okay, so what? Why are you telling me?" As if I have no reason for this information. But when you tell it, you're saying she was like, Jessica know what she signed up for. Like, we still should be able to connect. Like she wanted the connection. But I feel like, it was all a lot of game playing going on. And I mean,
so
like,
did Jessica have a connection with Chris?
Like way after we finally, after the show, we talk about the different stuff. It's like, what? We don't know nothing.
So was Jessica saying, okay, so I know she was tearing him down at one point, but was she saying that she was feeling Chris at the very beginning or something like that? Was there a change?
We really liked Chris a lot. That was her main person the whole time. It wasn't until after the lunch, not even the lunch date. Probably what was after the lunch date? The ex date. Because the ex date, we were on that date together. That was another time that she called me. But I couldn't talk because I had burgers on the grill.
I hear you.
Like waiting on the date, like we get there and we park, we gotta wait for them to do all this different stuff. But we were kind of like, she's like, so what's going on? Like, I feel like at that day she already was kind of like, do we really like? She had already did the MAURIER date with the ex with the tarot cards and stuff. So that was like another time that we actually. That was actually the first time that we texted with each other. Outside of the group chat or whatever. And she was telling me about what happened with the MAURIER date and all that. And then we're waiting to go in. And I was like, well, this shouldn't be that long, whatever. But after the ex date, she called me and was like, how do you think that went? And I was like, I don't think it went too good, like on her part, because it was so what they showed y'all of the ex date, it was very different. Like when I came into the ex date with Chris, I was there for about 15 minutes before Jessica came. So when they show it on TV, it's me coming in and then Jessica right away. It doesn't show that the conversation that I had with the ex before Jessica came. Like me and her talked for a good 15 minutes before Jessica came in. And it was just us. It's a restaurant that opened up for us. It's just us in the space. So it's very quiet. It's just us talking. We're, just sitting there. And I asked her a bunch of stuff like, well, she was saying how awesome Chris was and he's all this and all that and everything. And I was like, well, why y'all ain't together no more, And she was like, child, we was off and on for 5 years and I've done my time basically. Kind of like we've went through the cycle, of the thing. And I'm like, okay. So by the time Jessica came in, she was like, just like on the date when she came in before Kat was introduced into that group, when she was like, hey, Black people, hi, so it's not a bad thing. Her energy was up. It was great. But because we were in a quiet space, it seemed very loud. It was totally opposite from the energy that we were giving each other at the time. It's kind of like we're just talking. It's just us right here, like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. She came in, hey, Black people, we here. I'm here. Hello, everybody. Smooches. I'm a hugger. Da 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 da. And you're like, so the girl was like, the ex Valerie was like, damn.
Wait, Jessica was like huggies, smooches, and kisses.
I'm a hugger, but that.
When did she become a hugger? I thought she didn't do PDA.
This is the energy she came in with. So it was not a bad thing. It was just the environment that we were in. It didn't match. That's all I'm saying. Like if it was people there and it was kind of like some music playing and stuff like that, it would have felt better, right? Like it would have been like, okay, good energy, good vibes. And I'm cool with her. So I was cool with her. So I didn't have no problem with it. But I told Chris after that date, I saw some masterful, nice, nasty art between Valerie and Jessica sitting I had my drink. Y'all will see me Because when she came in, I didn't really have to say that much no more. Because they came in, and when I tell you that Valerie and her, I said, if you didn't know what was going on, you wouldn't see this artwork that just took place. This was like some passive aggressiveness. It was all
as per my last email kind of talk.
Yes, it was like it was the undertones of the, and Valerie was putting 2 on the 10, I felt, for just because she wasn't talking to me like that. Everything she was saying, I was complete servitude. I was like, complete servitude? Like, you weren't talking like that with me. Like, we were talking about, like, you made it sound like he's just awesome. He's this guy. He got all this stuff going on. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, like, I've been a wife before. I know how to manage having a business and having a man and running a household. I do this. I've done this. I got that part down. I'm not gonna do it if he ain't my husband, no way. So, but I was sitting there with my little drink, like, because it was magnifique. I was like, damn, this is really good. So that's why after the date, she called me and was like, how you think that went? I was like, child, for you? It was not it. You know what I'm saying? And so they called her back to do like a on the fly interview or whatever. She's like, I don't think they want me to do one. They didn't show it. But I felt like Valerie didn't like Jessica from the beginning when she came in, because when she hugged her, she was kind of like, okay, you're
doing too much.
Like, all right, whatever. So I didn't know until after watching the show, like the conversation she had with Chris afterward. But it was clear to me that she didn't like her. That's why she was, like not like just putting I feel like she was just putting more on it than. I'm not saying that she didn't experience whatever she experienced as far as like how she was doing, duties and whatever she felt she needed to do. But I think that she put more on it to where it was like Jessica would ask certain questions and she'd be like, no, 100%, everything. He can do nothing for, it was just like, no, I feel like it was a little too much. So, yeah.
And then did that at that point, were you and Chris connected? That was it looking to go somewhere then at that point?
Yeah, we were still connected at that point. Like one thing that I did in the process, I wasn't like connecting my people with other people. Like, you have a connection with Jessica, that's your connection with Jessica. You have a connection with Lee, that's your connection with Lee. I don't know what y'all doing. You ain't got to tell me about your dates. I don't ask about your dates. How did your date go? I don't care. That's not my business. I'm just focused on me and my process. So.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, that's fair. I mean, I hear you.
Cordial with Jessica. I was cordial with all the girls, but I just separated the other stuff from what I needed to do in my part of the process. You know what I'm saying?
So basically, Jessica was the brains behind the operation. Janelle seemed to be the heavy muscle, and MAURIER was like the lack. That's basically what's happened here. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Actually, just as you explained, Jessica, I was like, ooh, it's a little toxic tingle down my spine. You know what I mean?
Toxic tingle. You like it, huh?
I like a little bit. Someone who can think. You know what I mean? She just does a bit. I like that. Okay, so that situation then. But obviously, you got to witness the situation with obviously Janelle and Tequila, and because Tequila had her perspective, she was calling out colorism. Janelle's also saying that Tequila's a bitter individual. I want to leave Phil to last because that's obviously a good thing. But that situation that was going on there, how did you perceive that situation? Because that there.
The Tequila Janelle situation?
Yeah, I mean that whole nonsense that was going on there, it was quite heavy, and I wonder how, from your perspective, because even when it happens at occasion, the way you're just sitting there, like,
I was touching my
girls
because I'm like, what did I sign up for? I thought this was classy. Like I wasn't prepared for the that at all. I'm like, don't spill anything on me. Don't come by me with any drinks. I think what it was, and I'll give my perspective on this, is that as we were going around telling our experience with the different guys, I feel like some of the ladies were not liking that some of the people that they liked were communicating with other women and maybe not communicating with them. So if we're like, hey, I'm talking to this person and they call me every day, and then you're like, oh, you know, it created tension. And really before that, the conversation around Phil came up before that fight. That's how it actually kind of warmed up, was because I wasn't privy to the threesome conversation and all that, right? I don't know, because at this point, Phil is still an asterisk for me. He's not my connection on the first lounge. He was an asterisk. And what happened was Janelle did chime in about him saying that he was uncomfortable with that. So that also was a part of the conversation they had before. So it was just like a buildup, I feel like, of like different pieces. The Quentin thing comes up about the white girls and how he said he didn't like nobody and all that, which was like he had just got there. He didn't know nobody yet, whatever. So it was kind of like, okay. So I feel like there was tension before the lounge happened. When we were downstairs, I didn't realize it because, again, we didn't have no group chats or nothing yet. I just had found out what Janelle did for a living, like her business. We were sitting at a table where we were about to eat lunch. And I was like, oh, this is your website? Like, we were all just kind of connecting there. But there was a kind of a tension between like the Kira, Unique, Tequila part of the group. I didn't know why, like at that point. I'm like, it feels weird. Something's off, but I'm not in the mix, so I don't know why, until we got upstairs, and then all that kind of started, and it was just like, whoa, okay, so there's a beef here. But I feel like, yeah, it was crazy. It was just crazy. That's all I got for that. I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like that was just a lot of personalities that don't mix, that were in the same space, and kind of, those conversations weren't. Janelle didn't bite her tongue about how she felt about any of the conversations that were, you know what I mean? So it's like, you kind of like, okay, when you say something to this other person, like, well, no, that's not how it is, and it's like, Tequila has a personality where she wears her emotions on her sleeve. So she's easy to poke. You want to poke? Easy to poke her, because she wants to be friends with people. She wants to be accepted by the group, but she wears her emotions on her sleeve. Me and her have had a conversation about this, because even she felt the way about me, feeling like I was, like after the show, that like, you play both sides. And I'm like, what are the sides? Like, I don't even know what the side, like, all of y'all are strangers to me. I don't know none of y'all. Like, I'm being cordial, with people. But, I told her, I said, I feel like you have unrealistic expectations of strangers, and you need to be more, categorize your people better, as far as like, these are castmates. They're not your friends. These are associates. These are people that, you know what I'm saying? So I felt like that's just kind of her, she's sensitive, in that way. So it's like the rejection is going to hit her harder, because she does want that. So I feel like that is a part of why she gets poked easy by people who are like, I'm going to easily, make you feel away by, just saying something. And it's like emotional regulation. Like me and her literally had this conversation. I was like, you need to learn how to regulate your emotions better, because you need, people are going to, if they know they can trigger you, they're going to trigger you. You know what I mean? So I think that is what Janelle saw in her potentially, and it was very easy to do if that's what you want to do, so.
Fair play. That's fair.
I never had beef with Janelle at all, ever, during the show. I mean, I saw what was going on with the other women. I did not like it. but I never had a reason to cross paths with her in a negative way at any point. So
that's fair. Okay. Any other perspective on obviously Janelle and Jessica, because obviously they were quite a big stamping on the season, right onto the end of the show. But from your perspective, any other kind of things that we didn't get to see in terms of their behavior? Because it seems like they had quite a heavy I wouldn't say heavy, but there's quite a heavy response in terms of the castmates towards Jessica and Janelle. Even after the show, there's still some bad blood. Like, from your perspective, was there anything that we didn't get to see that maybe exonerates just Janelle, or maybe exonerates the group in some way? Like, is there anything that we missed that the show didn't see?
I mean, y'all didn't see a lot of behind the scenes type of stuff. Like, literally, I just saw Jessica like 2 weeks ago at an event and was like, "Hey," and she was like, and turned her head at me. So that's your personality. Like, you're not necessarily the nicest. But in my mind, I'm like, even with all the rah, I felt like just because of what I know about what I come from, I was like, neither one of them really wanted it. Neither one was really about that life, in my opinion. I feel like it's a lot of just everybody getting hype and knowing that it's going to be people stopping you, because in real life, if you want to get that, you can get that. Like, I would have been like, it's all good, girl. Yeah. I mean, if you really want to fight, I just felt like it wasn't nobody really about that life. It was just a bunch of talk. And people just being, reality TV, I felt like, because it was the point where I'm like, these got to be some plants. Like, people got to be planted, because this is too much. It just felt like it was too obvious, but it was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, even against the people who were, I mean, y'all saw after the show and the lives and all that stuff. It's like a lot of messiness, even with the people who were running the show, like they weren't nice to them. People weren't nice to them. And, we had some moments, where we had our little boycott situation. But that didn't last long. It was only like a half a day type of thing. But it's just this thing where you got personalities that are very easily, you kind of said it when you were talking about Quentin the other night. I saw that interview. And it's like they are very similar in personality. One is just a little more polished in the approach, but also still volatile in the same kind of way, right? Where one thing can trigger you to go off or whatever. And so I think one can get more excused than the other, even though it's not. That one is probably worse, to be honest. But so I think that it's just like multiple people who don't have good regulation of their emotions. So it is what it is. I just try to stay away. I try to stay away. I think that I when I see people with certain type of personality, I try to like clear my space, because I know that like I'm pretty good at regulating my emotions at this point. But also don't do too much, because it can be a problem. But I also felt like she wasn't really about that life.
So tell me about this boycott, because we hear about this boycott. I heard Janelle was a bit of a hero. I can't lie to you.
She really helped. She coordinated it. She was kind of ready she ready.
That's why I like a bit of her talk.
Are we ready to do it? She's ready. So she definitely was like spearheading that, because obviously she had beef with them anyways, right? So it was like, y'all got a problem? Well, let's do it now, So that was a funny time, actually. But even when we had that, I was like, so what guy is going to lead this conversation? Because at this point, I'm like, we got enough women out here doing, like, what man is going to start it? Who's going to do this? And it was like Quentin and Herbert and MAURIER. But Quentin and Herbert kind of were the first ones to kind of just like vocalize the voice of the group. But even before that, like it's hard for you to keep her quiet. Like, she still has to. She got in there and got her points across.
I heard that Janelle got in there and started taking over and doing, and telling them what to do in that meeting, though. So it didn't really go the way it needed to
But
go.
that's the part I feel like as you
That's
are
beautiful,
when you
though.
want to get something done, that's not the approach to take, right? Like
Mm.
if I want to get leadership to do something at my company, I can't go in there and be like, y'all need to do this. You can't. You have to put some points. We had points, we had paperwork. Like it was a whole situation, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not taking anything away from her leadership. She has leadership skills, you know what I'm saying? But it was a lot of it was just a lot of like it was still messy a little bit.
Take over spirit. No
Yeah.
worries, we get it.
Still messy. Me and Phil were texting each other under the table like I was like, I want to say something, but I'm gonna let these people. I'm gonna let them have it. You know, he was like, "Speak your mind," which is actually a really good moment for us because I was like, "Oh, he wants me to speak my mind." Like, thank you, for But I was kind of like, I'm gonna let the youngsters have it because see, I would be that person back in the day. I would have been the one trying to like, be the advocate or whatever. I was like, let me let the youngsters take it this time. Y'all go ahead. But everyone had something to say at some point, in it. But that was she kind of pushed the charge, I will say, on some of that stuff.
Shout out to our woman king, Janelle. We appreciate it. Shout out to her. So, question, obviously. Okay, so we'll leave the Jessica Janelle situation. I don't think there's anything unless there's something else that we haven't seen that we weren't privy to. Was it
Nothing
because
that
obviously
I didn't,
no. Okay, so we're gonna come on to obviously your main connection, Phil. This will bring us to a nice tying. We're gonna get some information about what happened because that was a major, 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 major thing. But before we do get to that point, I just want to say this first and foremost. Now, you said obviously you and Chris, the connection just kept on going and going and going and going, and obviously the audience are going to be left in a bit of a pickle. What do you mean that the connection kept on going?
We're still friends.
Okay, no. What we're not going to do is that. So when you say we're still friends, if that's still friends, that's cool. That's great. That's amazing. Are y'all dating? Are y'all seeing each other? You know what I mean? Like,
We went on some dates.
okay, so we've got some dates. Okay, shout out. That's all we wanted to know. I'm not gonna pry too much. If you guys are doing something, if you're trying to make it see, I don't want to jump too early. You know what I mean? I just wanted to find out. Okay, so you got on some dates. That's cool.
We went to a concert together. Went to dinner.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. I'll leave that there. Okay, so coming on to Phil, want to know what happened with this Phil connection because I think the key, everybody knows about the Phil situation, right? We know the stability conversation was being had, so I don't want to necessarily, I want to go there, but I want to go necessarily there, right?
Okay.
I want to know at what point, because he said quite clearly that you guys had a conversation a week before, and I want to know what kind of conversation you guys actually had. You've also said on other lives that you've let him know exactly what stability actually meant. So I want to know, what did you let him know that was stability so that he could understand that he needed to fix some things to make sure that he was in alignment so that you two could actually work long term?
He is the one that this conversation comes from because the thing was, I've always known that Phil had a job. I feel like the way the show was kind of presented, the first time you hear me mention something with him and stability, it's like the third to last episode. The first time y'all hear me even mention it, because he had multiple ventures that he was bringing that he wanted to pursue. It wasn't just the comedy. It was some others. It was like 2 to 3 other things, right? And I'm like, okay. But as I'm going through the show, I don't know all the other conversations he's had with other women, like about his career. Everything that we all know about Phil's life, he told us. He's the one that mentioned insurance claims. Then he get on a date with my friends and he talk about having a cleaning business and getting a 9 to 5 until something else comes up. And then comedy and like all these different pieces of his life that he shares. And I feel like what Phil's thing is, he shares more than is necessary. when it comes to that. So the audience has started saying he broke. I didn't ever say that because I know where he works at. I know the company. I know people at the company. So when I'm talking to somebody and they tell me about their thing, I'm like, so what do you, is that something that you're wanting to do? Like this career you have now, where you went to college for this and your degree is in this, even though you've done a whole bunch of other stuff in your past, is this the career? Now is this the career you want to go? Is this the one? Are you trying to move up? Are you trying to do something else with this? You know, I'm just trying to understand, who are you? Where are you going? And he was very, and I'm careful because also on camera, you work for a company. I'm not going to talk about what you tell me about. Like if I tell you right now, be like, my job sucks, I'm probably going to want to quit my job next week. That's not something I'm going to want to tell you on camera. You know what I mean? Like first stuff I'm not going to say about my job on camera. To protect my job, obviously. So there's things he's telling me off camera that I'm not bringing on camera because I'm not trying to bring it on camera. But then also you're telling me like, yeah, and I want to do this and I want to do that and this and that. And I'm like, okay, so you already showed me, your history shows me that these other things that you've done have not done well. They have not been successes. It's not like a progressive success. You're an investor or you're this and that. You know, like there's nothing that sounds like something fails and then you try something else. Something fails, you try.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So that's where I was like, okay, and then you also don't really know where you want to go, even in the thing you have now that you said is stable. Is this like, I'm confused. And so it was like we would get on camera, and there were other pieces to this. It wasn't just that. There were other pieces where it was like issues with the baby mama situation, that, and also he was bringing things on camera that I didn't feel comfortable with how he was bringing them on camera. And they didn't
without obviously going to deep. Bringing, what do you mean bringing? He was bringing things or bringing up topics?
Bringing up things that I was like, are you bringing it up to be on camera and look like something? Or are you bringing it up because you like, were you doing it to be nice, or were you doing it so you could bring it up on camera and get credit? So it was like, oh, as soon as we've already dealt, like he got some cupcakes for me at the house for my birthday. And then he would get on the next date with me and be like, so how, you know, did you like your cupcakes? And I'm like, we already had the cupcakes like days ago. Like that was a whole different conversation. I got more gifts where that came from. Okay, cool. The next thing, when we got to the family meeting, did you how did you like your this? And it's like, why do you keep bringing this stuff up? So it was like that on top of the, you don't know where you're going. And then every time I bring up stability, you keep saying, well, I'm stable because I got this job I've been having for 4 years so that I could be stable. That's not what the heck I'm talking about. We talk about your future plans. So when we had that day where we were at the bike day, and all the way, these episodes y'all saw, the last 3, those were like within a 3-day period. It wasn't like I had a whole bunch of time. So people was like, she should have self-eliminated way early. It was literally days apart when we had the family day, the brunch, the bike day, the other family day. These were like within we were in the same week doing that, all back to back. So it was like the family brought up the stuff, you know, some of the stuff too. Like they were the ones that brought up the, like, they didn't, when we started talking about the stability thing, they were kind of like, you know, how do you feel about, she gonna feel about the stability? It wasn't like they were like, he's stable, we know he's stable, like he got this going on. Nobody was vouching for it. They were kind of like, that's something to talk about, you know, kind of thing. And then they were like, well, how do you feel about the son? And I'm like, should I feel something about the son? Like, I feel like from what he said, everything is cool. But if it ain't cool, we need to have a conversation about it, because that's a deal breaker for me. Like, if you got baby mama drama, we're not doing that. So it was stuff like that, where I'm like, you got a lot going on that you're not like being as forthright with me and being clear about. And I felt like what it was, I felt like he realized that probably he didn't have the answers that he knew that he would need to have for me, and started just kind of like trying to over talk it on camera and then make it look like I'm crazy. Like, I don't know why she doing that. What she want me for my money? Like, when I look back at the confessionals, I'm like, Negro, you know I ain't talking about no damn money. Come on. She said she needs security. That I feel like it's the financial it's the thing. Let's keep it 1,000 for real. Like, you know, ain't nobody talking about your money. Like, at all. So it was just a lot of little parts that I felt like I'm like, and then he kept bringing my dad up on camera, which I was not asking for that to be brought up. So I was
lost season ago.
He kind of was trying. I felt like he was trying to make me cry on camera multiple times.
To try and like make it seem like, you know, you got this deep connection, or
it was even like the week where y'all saw me talk about when we had the final brunch before the finale. That was the day before my dad's birthday. I was struggling that week because my birthday is April 14th. My dad's is April 20th. These are my first birthdays without him. So I didn't even realize how emotional I was going to be on that, right? So when he would be like kind of pushing that a little bit, I'm like, we can have the conversation about that. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about with you. I'm dealing with something. That's life. We're going to deal with things. I'm talking about something that's happening to me right now. But also, there's this decision that needs to be made as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I felt like he kept using that as an excuse for why I wasn't picking him. So like when we got to that end and I said, when you go to the reunion and they play my finale scene, that was the actual first response I gave him. It was very general. It was very just like, you know, I started digging deeper, I felt like there's some areas that I don't feel comfortable with. And so I feel like we should take this as a friendship and move on. Well, when I said that, he said back to me, yeah, you know, I know you're grieving and that's why you're choosing yourself. And I was like, no, let's be clear. So like, we're literally going back and forth at the finale. And I'm like, actually, that's not why I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing myself because, and then I even said to him, so even that respect part, when they showed it at the actual finale, that was like the last thing I said. It wasn't the first thing I said. I said, you deserve someone that's going to look up to you, that's going to honor you. And I want to do the same. I want to look up to my man and honor my man as well. You know, so I know y'all was eating me up about the respect, but it was like, I first said to him, you deserve someone who's going to respect you, that's going to look up to you, that's going to honor you, that's going to be that person because there's a bunch of people that are vouching for him right now that I'm like, baby, get in his DMs and respect his ex. That's all I want to say. Go on and respect him, girl, because to me, it was other factors that was causing me not to feel like I don't respect you as a human being, but I'm like, it's too many little pieces that I need to get. I'm not feeling comfortable with this right now by the way that you're kind of coming at me with this. And we fleshed all of this out after the finale. Like, I reached out to him. I'm like, are you good? Like, are you good? And when you feel okay, like, let's sit down and chat about everything when you feel comfortable. And we sat down. That's what, like, y'all went on some dates. We went on a couple outings to talk about, like, we went out and the hardest one was the first one, to talk through everything. Like, I laid it all on the table, what I felt. I was like, I didn't feel like you answered those questions great with my mom. We talked about that. I said, if we had been meeting outside of this show, I probably wouldn't have even asked these questions to you for a long time because it would have just been like casual dating and I wouldn't have been out in your business like that. But because of this show, I had to accelerate all these questions. And then, but it probably would have been 6 months to a year from now before I heard asked all this stuff in real life because that was something that I learned that I wasn't doing great before this. So that was what it was. And then, you know, we went out and it was just kind of like, we know that we weren't going to be, we were trying to kind of reestablish the friendship part of what we had. And it was just like, okay. So like in group settings, we have been out, you know, and even since then, like we have been cool all the way up until those episodes started airing on the show now. Like, we're not cool right now. And he basically kind of reverted back because the internet started calling him broke and saying this stuff, and he got mad at me because of the internet. I reached out to him 2 weeks before they started airing our part that was getting serious. You know, I was like, hey, like, you know what's about to start. We've been texting each other the whole time. He came to my house and watched the episode when we had that first date with the black. We cheers, had a good old, like, it was all good. Like, we've been cool. And so when those other episodes were coming up, I was like, well, you know what's about to come up. So, like, let's not get caught up in the minutia of all the, we know, because Kristen got sent home, that drama's gone. They about to focus on us, you know? And he didn't even respond to my text after that. He was like fighting for his life in a Facebook group, he's like, I'm over here trying to prove to people I got a job. I'm like, why are you mad at me? Get mad at editing. Like, they're the ones that kept replaying my same words over and over about the stability thing. It wasn't like I was saying it that many times. It's just a part of it that they were pushed. That was what they wanted you to look like. So, but why are you mad at me? We already talked about everything. We were already good. We were already like whatever. So yeah, I definitely, when he started getting weird with me about it, I was like, well, you can go ahead and talk to your internet people. You don't need to be talking to me no more. We're not on speaking terms.
Oh, Chris is asking why he's at your house. That's Chris. That's your connection. That's your connection. He's asking that question.
Chris already knows. He already knows.
So what? So before we ask the question as to why you guys were then rekindled things after the show, because that's what it sounded like.
Redirect that. We didn't rekindle nothing.
So what y'all do? It sounded like you rekindled.
Cool. We were just, it was as a friendship.
You didn't go for no dates after?
Not like that. We were cool. Like, it was just literally like catching up like regular. It was nothing else.
It was just, you're just catching up. Was it coffee catch-ups?
Chris was hosting events. He would be there. I'm there. Like, we were all kicking it.
Okay, not one. So it wasn't a one-to-one.
Cool. Like, when he came to the house for the show, we're like, we're gonna watch the episode together. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. But
it wasn't one-to-one.
And my kids were here, so it wasn't no one-to-one because my kids did.
Okay, so y'all never had no one-to-one dates then, and it wasn't really a date.
No, we've had one-to-one outings. Like, when I told you that first one that we had after the show, when it was like, we need to sit down and for real talk with no cameras, for real.
That's a closure thing.
That was the first one. And the thing about it is that Phil and I had a real connection. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I felt bad. I was really being, even though I don't know how people feel, but I feel like I was covering a lot of things for him on camera, to be honest with you, because I didn't want him looking like that, looking crazy on TV. So, like, one of the moments where when I met his family and I sat down, he had bought me a bunch of birthday, like, he bought me like 6 bottles of wine and like a pair of tennis shoes or something for my birthday. And he dropped it off at my house. Because, you know, we're not supposed to connect outside the show and all this stuff. And I used to be trying to get him to connect outside the show. He didn't do it. He didn't want to do it. I'd be like, so what? Forget production. Let's go out. Because we wasn't getting no dates. And he'd be like, no, we're going to respect the process and stuff. He was being all, you know, goody. But when my birthday came, he dropped the stuff off. And I was, like, depressed that day. Like, I wasn't doing well because I was thinking about my dad. I'm like, this is my first birthday without my dad. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So he dropped the stuff off. 2 days later, we had the family date with his family. And he was like, as soon as I sat on the bench at that date with them, he said, so did you get your gifts? I mean, you brought them to my house, so obviously I got the gifts. Like, you brought them to me, so you know I got the gifts. So the fact that you're asking me, did I get my gifts? So I could have been like, what do you mean? Of course I got my gifts. You brought them to my house. You know, I could have said that. But I was like, yes, I got my gifts. But inside, these are things that I'm being nice on camera, but inside I'm like, what is this? What are we doing? You know? So that, no, he saw me. Whoever's in there, he dropped them off. He saw me. You know, I got them. He handed them to me. And I felt like he was trying to get credit on camera for different things. That's what I was feeling like. So I never brought his finances up. I never said financial stability or none of that.
True.
None of that came out of my mouth on the show.
That's very true.
He kept associating money with it. I feel like he felt a certain way about what he felt he could bring to the table to me, instead of actually having that conversation with me about what he felt I needed from him. I don't need you to be anything. You know, I need you to just make sure you have a plan. Do you have goals? Do you have something? What are you doing in your life? I'm not just going to connect to some willy-nilly type of stuff. We just got to talk about my story. I don't want to be in a willy-nilly lifestyle where today you saying you doing this, but tomorrow you might want to do something else. I'm good. No, thank you. You know, so that's where we were not connecting. And he was like, I'm good. Things straight. I'm like, well, I'm not. And
so it wasn't necessarily a romantic connection that was happening outside of the show and the process.
No.
Strictly platonic in friendship.
Strictly friendship.
Okay.
Strictly friendship. No, because I already know you're not, but we already had that at the finale that we're not that. Does that mean that our connection that we had just goes away? No, but it knows that we know it's not going nowhere. So we don't need to continue investing in that like that. We're cool. Like we went out to something that Chris did, event. Herbert was there. Red was there. Kat was there. Me and Phil danced at the thing. Like people was like, oh, y'all are so cute, you know. But it's like, okay, and then bye. Like we were still cool. But it just was like, we know that it ain't that. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be something where we will be in each other's future, you know, going forward. So yeah, no, I'm not. There was never that. Like I literally talk to Chris, Kat, and Lee every single day, more than anybody on the anybody.
So obviously, I mean, and kind of coming towards a close now. But what aside, obviously wait, hold on. I just want you to explain this again to make sure it's very clear. You know, because I'm going to chop an edit part, right? So, I want to know exactly what you meant when you said you wouldn't be able to. Well, you didn't say whatever. You mentioned the word respect.
I said I want to be able to respect my man.
What does that mean?
Do you know what it means? Let me tell you what it means.
Oh, I know what it means, but I want you to explain what it means.
You as a man, we're not about to act crazy.
Okay.
You know what it feels like when a woman doesn't respect you, don't you?
Absolutely.
And just because she doesn't say it out of her mouth, you know how it feels.
I hear you.
So I know that I am just telling you verbally what could happen if you don't got your shit together. What did I just give you my life story? Didn't I just tell you about some things that made me lose respect? You can lose respect for a person. I'm giving you the fast forward the story. If you ain't got the stability that I need you to have for this to look the way I need it to look, the respect level is going to go down. So let's just be real and honest and not act like we're 12 years old. We know what it looks like when a woman does not respect a man. So just because I said the quiet part out loud, don't shoot me. Shoot yourself.
I mean,
I'm being honest. That's the problem. Most people aren't being honest. They would just do it. You would just rather somebody not do it than tell you that. But that was something that he kind of pushed out of me because that wasn't something that I was going to say.
What do you mean he pushed out of you? What do you mean he pushed out of you?
I just told you that wasn't my first response to him. I said something very nice in general first, and he started bringing the whole your dad and you're grieving and all this stuff out. And I'm like, listen, you deserve someone that's going to just be like, wow, my man.
That's fair. He pissed you off basically by trying to go that.
Feel that way. You want your woman to be like superhero. Look at you as their superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I want that too. But at that date when we were on the bike, I said to him, because he asked me something like, what does this guy look like that you're talking about? You know, I said, well, here's an example. You know, I want to see a history of success that shows me that you are capable of doing something. I want to see that, because that's the only way I'm going to know if you're good at it. Can I see the history? I want to
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You're a loyal person. You know how to set the tone for a lifestyle, a family, guidance, someone that I can actually learn something from. Can you expose me to anything new that I don't know? I don't want to be the leader of my relationship. I want someone to be, I'll be like, ooh, that's something new. I didn't know that. Let me go to him for some advice.
Mm. But you felt like you wouldn't be able to do that.
I don't want to be the strong Black woman in our relationship.
That's fair.
I'm gonna be me. I am a great leader. I'm not denying the fact that I have great leadership skills. I've had to become a leader. I've been a leader for a long time. But I also want to have someone that I can lean on, and kind of similar to what we talked about earlier, that I can say, I don't need to be overseeing everything. I don't need to micromanage you, because I know what Aries needs. I wasn't getting that feeling from him. I felt like you're a person I'm going to be questioning every single thing you bring to me. You're going to be like, this is a great business idea, babe. No, don't believe it. So I could lie. You want me to lie? Fluff it up? Make it sound better?
I don't want you to lie. I don't want you to lie. I mean, listen. I think we're gonna agree to disagree on whether you need to say you're gonna respect him. I feel that was a little bit.
I said I want to respect my man.
Yeah, well, I mean, so that's semantics. But I hear what you're saying. But you know what I mean? Like, you're basically telling him that you ain't gonna respect his ass. Like, it's semantics. Okay, it's semantics. You know.
However you want to call it, but it is a reality of the situation.
I do agree. It is a reality.
I would not respect your leadership. You said you're going to piggyback off of me. That's the type of leader you are. I'm not going to respect what you have to say, because you're going to want to come. You know, I don't have a problem with joint leadership and like making choices together and things like that. But I need to know that if I'm not around,
you can handle business.
Yeah.
I agree that, to understand.
That's all that was.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. So, and okay, but okay. So I've,
cool dude. Mm-hmm. Gonna find someone. There's so many people that are advocates for him. So I'm sure his DMs are popping, and he's gonna get all the things he can, he wants out of life. I just feel like for me and him, it just wasn't a match, period. And that's something that happened at an accelerated pace toward the end. Like certain conversations that we were having, our story started a little late in the process, and then we had to like, okay, now ask all these questions in 3 days, and it's like, hold on, it's not working. So
that's fair. The audience are wondering, did you keep the baseball?
The baseball that production bought? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, Aries. Wait. I mean the baseball that he gave you.
The one that he gave me that production bought, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What you mean production bought the baseball? No.
He admitted that. He admitted it. He admitted it in the Facebook group. He said that. I'm not saying it wasn't, I'm sure they asked what he felt like they should get, but he said it. I wouldn't have known production bought it unless he told. I mean, he said it. He put it in the Facebook group. Y'all can go search it. He said they asked him what he should get, and they got it. The flowers too, because they were doing the flowers themselves on the side. All of that. Now the flowers he got me on the first date, and the ones he got my mom and me on that date, he bought and went and got those. But the ones at the end, that was not something that he just went and got himself. What?
Now you kind of looking kind of cute when you tilt your head like that. But, I'm astonished.
For a lot of people, like it was different stuff that they did. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I'm just saying, realistically.
No, because like a date. Okay, I get that dates are organized by production. You know what I'm saying? Like that we understand. We know. But if I give a gift to be of a sentimental value, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving you a sentimental value gift, knowing it's tied to something very strong that is deeply emotional to the person. You
and
know what I
that
mean?
was like, I said, "Woo, he pulling out the stops on this one," because I already knew what I was gonna say, and then I'm like, "Woo, he making this hard with the baseball situation."
Yeah, that was.
But he himself said that production got that. So I'm just repeating what he said. That's what he said.
That ain't cute. That ain't nice. I don't like that.
Reasons me and him
I don't like that.
one of the reasons we got into it because somebody had put this whole post on Facebook saying, and she took the baseball on the part. He should have took that baseball. It was the whole thing about me taking the baseball. And he was like, yeah, and gifts that I bought her, birthday gifts off camera. And I'm like, oh, you co-signing in the group about this or whatever? So somebody actually started asking questions like, don't production buy stuff? And he was like, well, yeah, you know. And then he admitted that he kind of said that they did the flowers and the baseball. Tamasha, you in the group, you in the Facebook group, see, she knows.
That's not cool at all, though, man. That really isn't cool at all. I just think to myself, like, you can't take any. It's not even that. No, well, taking credit is one thing, but I just think to myself that when it's not, if it had been a normal gift, I'd have been like, well, he's probably cheeky for that. But you know what I mean, like, but when that gift is attached to heavy sentiments, I think that's very scary for me to. People are saying dusty. I don't think it's even dusty. I just think that's just insensitive. Like that you don't realize that me giving
it normal with production though. Like, I mean, that was kind of, they got people to go find things this last minute. They'd be like, hey, you want to come with a gift? Like, what kind of gift do you want us to get? Like, go find, oh, get something with a baseball. You know, like you could tell them kind of like, this is the kind of thing that I want to get, but like also they're going to help you find something, you know, or whatever. So, I mean, I don't take it like that, but I didn't like the fact that he made it seem like, yeah, she took this baseball that I got her and did this, you know, like that was the part that I was more mad at. And not mad, but like irritated by it, I was saying. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's not cool.
I feel like, you know, what this show does is you get caught up in this whirlwind of social media. You also don't want to look crazy on camera. You don't want to take an L, you know, and so your behavior starts to kind of show that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he, you know, said some things about like, yeah, when I chose her, I said, I choose you to be a friend. And they cut my words off. I'm like, you choose me to be a friend? That is not, you definitely didn't say that. So there's certain parts of that where I'll be like, okay, like it's one thing to kind of want to not look crazy on TV, but also like don't lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to just make up a story to look better. It is what it is. It didn't work. I don't think he's a bad person. I think that a lot of people get caught up in the whole process of it all. For me, I just want to be authentic to who I am. I could have easily just said, let me pick him. I feel bad, you know, or whatever. I don't want to, you know, let me just do this and go this way. No, I was like, in real life, would you pick this man, Aries? No. So I'm going to be authentic to real life version of Aries. I would not pick him in real life. And that's just, it's not easy to have the tough conversations. It's not easy to say the things that aren't pretty. I think that's the part that when people are like, Aries is a villain, she's mean. She's mean. She said she don't respect that man. I definitely didn't say that. I just said I want to respect that. And that's it. You're crazy. He ain't coming on your show. You talking crazy.
He ain't coming no more. Yeah, he ain't coming no more. Shit.
You're not gonna come on here talking crazy.
I done ruined that one right there.
Be like, I ain't coming on him. He ain't about to
I am definitely striking out on that one. It's finished. Oh man, I think I'm still in shock on it because I just think to myself like, you know, as much as I always get on Chris, you know, I always get on him. You know, he does because I'm going to see him in Jamaica, so he gonna drown me. But you know, like you know, one thing that I respected that you know in that situation is that when, for instance, when he bought the gift for Lee, it was something outside of production. And I
Yeah.
think that just shows a little bit more intentional. And again, I'm not here advocating for people to go and spend thousands of pounds on anything like that. But if I want to be authentic in my connection with somebody, right? I want to be able to keep everything as authentic as possible, and that will mean also at the same time, yeah, if I'm gonna get you a gift, like similar to how Chris did it, I'm doing it outside production because I don't want it to be part of the circus that's going on around us. If my connection to you is truly authentic, I want to show you that outside of the show, outside of the process, I really do have feelings for you. So here's a gift. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Then
I kind of
when my
would
words attach
rather
that,
he had not given me that, to be honest.
yeah.
Because I did feel like it was just and that's the part that I didn't add, is that when he gave me that gift and we hugged at the end, he said, "You still didn't cry on TV," to me when he hugged me at the end.
What are we talking about, Aries?
He said that when he hugged me, when I'm walking off from him, after he gave me that baseball and everything, and he was like, "You still didn't cry on TV," and I was like, "Where are you trying to get?" He clearly was trying to make me cry on TV. Like, again, my intuition about that was correct because I kept feeling like, why do you keep bringing my daddy up? And that was the part where I was like, oh yeah, no. I'm glad I did exactly the way I did, because that to me said like, oh, you were trying to trigger my emotion in this moment. Yeah.
So it's a telephone by Felicia. What?
Yeah. So there were just a lot of instances where I kind of felt like, kind of manipulative on certain things. Like, again, I don't want to call him a bad guy, but also I'm like,
No, that's bad guy behavior. I'm sorry. That's bad guy behavior.
I felt there was a part where I felt like you're kind of getting irritated with me because on the family day when he was like, I'm stable because I was doing this job where I travel and now I'm at home because of my son. He was like, and that's my last 2 cents on that. They didn't show that part. But I went to product like afterward. I have certain producers are listening to your mic, right? So I was like, did you hear him say that? Like his last 2 cents, like he was putting his foot down, like, and don't ask me no more about this stability thing. So
I think he
that's
did say that, didn't he?
well, y'all didn't hear that part. He said that during the day, like that's my last 2 cents. Like I ain't talking about this no more, basically. So when we went on the bike day, I said, "Oh, he ain't." Well, I'm gonna bring it up again because you didn't answer my question still. Whatever. Like, whoa, you putting your 2 cents down? So it was a lot of little pieces where I'm like, I felt like he didn't want me to continue to ask the questions, and like he kept saying I was overthinking or overanalyzing him or whatever. And I'm like, no, this is analyzing. That's what we're doing. Like that's what this process is about. It was like he kept saying, well, let's just date after the show and then we can talk about like let's get to the end and get to the dating real life. And I'm like, no, that's the whole point of the show, is to determine that, and then if I want to date you in real life, we do that. But I feel like he was kind of getting irritated that I was kind of picking up on things that was making me not want to pick him, so it was like, you're getting irritated, you're using my dad as an excuse, though I am having a moment this week because I'm my dad's birthday, whatever. Don't use that as a reason why I'm not, whatever. But I just felt like he was using that a lot, to like justify why. Oh, she's not picking me because she dealing with some grief. No, I'm gonna be dealing with that for a while. Like me and my like that's gonna be a part of my life forever. But I still can make a sound decision in this moment. Again, I go to therapy twice a month. I'm a heavy therapy person, been doing it for years, so I have someone to talk to about all my things. So this was that part where I was just like, nah, yeah, I don't like how you're moving, and I feel like you're trying to make me feel bad about being thoughtful about my life and what I want, and I don't want that. So even after that, when we talked through everything and I explained exactly how I felt, like raw and uncut, it still wasn't. He still was, kind of like, well, trying to justify it. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But that's just how it's gonna be. Like we just gonna have to agree to disagree and let it go. And that was it. So the fact that we're not cool right now because he didn't want to have a conversation with me, the person he knows in real life, who I felt like we were friends, but you wanted to be on the internet fighting for the fact to prove people that you have a job and that all this stuff. I just was like, so you really ain't tripping off of us. Like you're not tripping off me being your friend or nothing like that post show. Cool. Block, unfollow, go on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need that. I don't deal with people like, again, I need that loyalty that if we're going to be friends, are we friends? Or are we not? If we ain't, bye. Like, I'm not doing that. So, that's kind of how I feel about it with him. And that's that on that.
So do you think? I mean, listen, I wasn't back in Tequila at all on the reunion when she said time to Phil. But did she know about you guys' situation or something, or did she have her own moment or something? Because I don't get what.
She only knows based on the fact that we had our segment before she called him broke.
Oh, okay.
Like she, based it off of. I didn't know about the bankruptcy conversation. That was the conversation he had with her. Again, he was telling people his business. I'm like, how does she know that he filed bankruptcy? I didn't even know. And then my best friend who was on the date with us, who did the my mom date with my mom, she was the one that said, oh yeah, he had told us that he did foreclosure or something. I said, did he? I didn't even remember that. Like with the houses and stuff. I said, I remember this. Like I didn't even remember that. So it's like you're the one telling everybody your business and then getting mad when people use that as a reason to say like you got issues. When I didn't think he was broke. I didn't feel like he was broke. I just feel like I don't know what is going on. That's why I was using the word stability. I wasn't using, that. So that's all that was. So yeah, I felt like she was definitely. I didn't like her saying that. I feel like that was uncalled for. It didn't even connect with their story. I didn't feel like that was cool. But that's it.
So last question, obviously about Phil. Why? How did you guys connect? What was making you guys connect in the beginning then?
We were laughing about a lot of stuff. We had a lot of things that were similar. Like I told you, how me, him, and MAURIER and Quentin had very similar sense of humor. We laugh about stuff, music, the right answers to the right questions. Just the basic getting to know you stuff in the beginning, right? Like whatever you would do on the phone and just kind of like learning about someone. There's definitely stuff that he told me that I would never repeat publicly. Things that he shared with me, things I shared with him that were in depth. But I feel like as you kind of see people in other parts, that's what this show does. It brings it out when you get on camera and you have to talk about other things and it forces it. And so that's where it still was like, huh, okay, you're selling me this over here, but then over here you're not saying it. So we definitely had, and we were attracted to each other. Like we had a good energy. Like at the hoedown, I wasn't holding his hand, walking him around like Jessica was doing Chris, but I was like, go talk to some other people. Like, because we were in each other's face the whole time. And then when we knew a dude was gonna go home, I was like, go talk to some other ladies, because we don't want y'all to go home and stuff like that. So yeah.
My God.
In control of his storyline. I feel like, I'm like, you getting mad at me? Well, you're the one who was telling other people all your little. Everybody had a little piece of his story on their date, and I'm like, I wouldn't have known about the insurance claims and the non-physical touch stuff with the care date and all that. I saw that when I saw the episode. I was like, oh, didn't know about that, So I feel like if he had more of a if he would just be like, I'm a supply chain analyst at, such and such, been there for 4 years. That's what I'm doing. Done. We don't need to know everything about from 2008. Like, that's way too much information. But he hasn't really, I think he just needs to get a good control of his narrative.
His narrative.
Yeah. which I'm sure this show is going to help him do that going forward, hopefully.
He gonna know.
But yeah. So anywho.
Whew. Bebe. Well, Aries, obviously coming to the end of your journey on Ready to Love. What was your learns from this process?
I learned that all the work that I've done on myself has really been working. Dealing with a lot of personalities, all the people, because again, at this point, you have to navigate the women and the men. And as y'all saw, all the drama that was going on, I feel like I did a good job at navigating myself through the process. You know, and then it's still messy stuff that happens, but I feel like I was neutral enough to kind of mind my business when necessary. And then, you know, as I went through the process myself, also trusting myself in the things that I discover. Also, I think that asking a lot of these questions quicker is important because the old me would just la 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 la, you know, and not really trip and nonchalantly date. But if you want to date intentionally, you have to be intentional. Like you really have to be asking the right stuff to get you to the right place. So I feel like I definitely learned a lot about that, you know, during this process of like, okay, well, I'm not about to just sit here playing with nobody. What's going on? What do you got going on? What's your thing? You know, asking those questions early. So, yeah, that was the big part for me. And I got some good friendships out of it. You know, I think you got 20 people coming into a process. Everybody's not about to be friends. I really have no beef with any of the people. I think there's some personality flaws that some people may have that are people that I may not want to hang out with, you know, like after. But I don't think, you know, there was no like nothing that I had with people that was like, oh, you know, me and this person fought or argued or none of that. I was pretty much cool with everybody. You know, cordial enough to get through the show, you know, and get through the process and work with them to get to the end of the process and be fine. But Chris, Lee, Kat, those are people that I think those are the growing those relationships have been the best part for me post show, basically. But yeah.
Appreciate that. So, is there anything that you're doing at the moment that you would love for us to get behind? I know you have a podcast. Maybe you can tell them, you know, a little bit about the podcast and where they can find you as well and support.
I have a podcast called Bold Black Girls. It is here on YouTube. Please go support the channel. We paused our recording because of this show and all the time away, but we'll be back. We're actually about to start recording next month. And so that'll be back out. That podcast is really about professional personal development. Is geared toward Black women and the workplace. We talk about tech. We talk about all kind of different things. So that, and then obviously follow me on Instagram where I put a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. Next week, I will be in West Palm Beach, Florida at the Black Men in Tech Conference. Doing some panels. I do a lot of hosting of events and moderating panels and things like that. So just follow me on Instagram and you can see what I got going on.
Well, Aries, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, I think, the tea was well and truly spilt. You know, my hands are still kind of burning from the heat that was released tonight. And not like not in a messy way or anything. It was the truth, and I appreciate the fact you shared your truth. It gave us better context on certain situations as well. You know, and you know, we appreciate you coming on here and being so transparent, especially with your background and what you've been through. Definitely to bring you up again to like actually get, you know, your full story, because I think there's so much more that we could tap into. You know, I wouldn't even mind doing a local series thing with you. You know what I mean? Taking it slowly so we can get understanding, you know, because I think your story can really help some people.
That's something that I want to do as well. I think I definitely, you know, you don't go through things just to go through things. You go through things that can help others. I'll be doing actually a panel with some kids coming up to talk about setting goals as a child, right? They're 5th through 12th grade, I think, and it's like you can determine your life as a kid. You know what I mean? So that's actually I'll be doing that next month with Dallas ISD. But yeah, so I would love to do that, and I definitely appreciate you. You know, I've been a part of your channel for a long time in the
Oh,
chats and
no, yeah, it's crazy.
um, I'm a member, and so I'll definitely be in the chats, and maybe I'll join some of your panels as you review some other shows and stuff like that going forward. So, yeah, thank
We
you.
appreciate Aries. Thank you as always. And you know, keep looking beautiful. You know, I'm going to see you in a few days. So
Yeah,
not like that, guys, because you know how they guns in Jamaica. That's
right.
what I meant. But no, it's been fun, and I appreciate this. You know, this conversation. So definitely, I'll liaison with you behind the scenes. But I'd love to do like a series with you and just have a few episodes where we can just talk about some real stuff. And hopefully people can learn from that, because I think you shared enough, but it's definitely that there's more that can even be tapped into. So
Yeah,
you have a hero story, and I appreciate that. But audience, listen, I'm gonna need y'all to behave yourselves, stay classy out there, stay cute out there. Don't do anything I'm gonna do, okay? All right, because you should do what I say, not what I do. You understand what I'm saying too? Yeah. So if I tell you to do it, but don't do what I do. Okay, you're gonna get someone in some trouble. All right. But we have got some an interview still coming up. I've got Unique on Monday. I've got Tequila on Tuesday. I did also get a message from Kira too, so she says she wants to do an interview. So I'll try and squeeze her in as well, maybe next week, and we'll see what happens. But it'll be a Monday panel. Also, after the Unique interview to talk about Ready to Move. Sorry. So they just started. So we will be on Monday, because Saturday I've just gone. Today? I was going to do some other stuff as well after today. So that's why we didn't do it today. But listen, audience, thank you so much. It's been crazy. Don't forget to join us again on Monday for Unique, Tuesday for Tequila. And if you love Love is Blind, we're talking about it tomorrow after the reunion. So we'll be dropping a live later on in the evening. And then Monday will be Ready to Move as well. So there's a lot of things going on this channel. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like it, you share, you subscribe to the channel. And also as well, you can join our membership. It's £1, it's $1. And you can join our membership only lives that we have every other Tuesday. It's more like every other 3 weeks. So that's usually how we do it. So we look forward to seeing you guys there as well. Much love, much appreciation. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Once more again, I'm warning you guys. Okay. All right. I'm warning you. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. I got 2 super chats. One of them here was for you, Aries. Someone said, "Hello, Aries. You're beautiful. I'm J42 from Jersey. If you're ever out here, it'd be a pleasure to meet you." I'm not gonna lie to you, sounds kind of stalkerish, but yeah. It's just me, Jay, just Prezi, just saying, you ain't got no picture. When people start saying 42 numbers, we barely know you. It sounds a bit. I'm not saying you are, but it just sounds a little bit stalkerish. You know what I'm saying? Just a teeny bit of it.
Look, thanks for the
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah. Next time, cash app her. And then Christine Lambert said yes. Hashtag fats. Hashtag gorgeous queen. Hashtag queen. Queen. Hashtag gorgeous queen. And then love hearts Aries as well. So we appreciate you, and shout out to Keisha as well. Kesha, sorry, who also has joined us membership. We appreciate y'all. Listen, we got to go. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Love you.